Entertainment and Sports Network.
It's another beautiful day here in Florida. The weather has been great during the course of spring training, and today is no exception. As the Yankees are getting ready for yet another exhibition game, today they take on the Washington Nationals. As the YES Network presents New York Yankees baseball, it's going to be the Yankees against the Nationals here at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. Hi, everybody. Ken Singleton along with Jack Curry and John Flaherty this afternoon, and we've got some breaking news, and Jack, why don't you take it away?
Kenny, Andy Pettitte is back with the Yankees, so the newest face of the Yankees is an old face. Yankee fans are used to seeing this guy, a 240-game winner. He signed a one-year, $2.5 million minor league deal. We know he didn't pitch last year. He had the itch to come back and do it. The Yankees always had that invitation out to him. Andy, whenever you're ready, we'd take you back. He's coming back to the Yankees.
Now, Flash, what is your reaction to this?
Well, my first thought is postseason baseball for the Yankees, because obviously Andy Pettitte has risen to the occasion during the postseason. I'm sure the Yankees will be very patient. 39 years old. He was in camp earlier. It looked like he was in great shape, but I'm sure they're going to give him a lot of time to get his arm ready, compete for a spot. I mean, if Andy Pettitte signs a deal, he's got a rotation spot when he's ready.
By the way, we're going to have Brian Cashman, the Yankee GM, on a little bit later on the ball game for a reaction from him. But right now, we got a ball game coming up. We got CC Sabathia, another left-hander on the mound for the Yankees today. Today's game on YES is brought to you in part by Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. By 5-Hour Energy, when you gotta get stuff done. And by the really big sales event. Real deals, big inventory, now at your Honda dealer. There is Steinbrenner Field. As we mentioned before, it's a beautiful day for baseball as the Yankees will be taking on the Washington Nationals for the second consecutive day. Yesterday they played over in Vieira, and the Nationals home for spring training, and the Yankees won that game by a score of 8-5. Let's check out the Nationals lineup. They'll be facing CC Sabathia this afternoon. Ian Desmond will be at shortstop. He will lead it off. At third base is Steve Lombardozzi. Batting third, Mark DeRosa, the first baseman. Wilson Ramos will be the designated hitter. He'll clean up. Jesus Flores will do the catching this afternoon. Jason Michaels will be in left. Red Carroll's in center field. The phenom, Bryce Harper, 19 years old. He'll be in right field for the Nationals today. And batting ninth will be Andres Blanco, the second baseman.
Well, that will not be the opening day lineup for the Nationals, but they will go to work against CC Sabathia, #1 starter for the New York Yankees. And you look at last season, 33 starts and 19 wins. The ERA right at 3. We'll take a look at our Volkswagen pitcher scouting report on CC Sabathia. This will be his 3rd start of spring training. The Yankees hoping the 3rd of many. He made 33 starts last year. And the pitch count for CC, what he wants to do today is elevate that maybe to 60, 65 pitches. But he's looking forward to April 6th against the Rays, opening day for the New York Yankees.
Opening day will be over at Tropicana Field, which is not too far away from Steinbrenner Field, just across the causeway in St. Petersburg. Just about ready for baseball here this afternoon. And here's the first pitch of the ball game to Ian Desmond. And it is swung on and missed, strike 1. Desmond, the Nationals shortstop. He's got some speed, but look at that on-base percentage. They are looking for a lead-off hitter. On-base percentage is .298. Desmond is in that slot so far. It pitches high from Sabathia. The count evens up at a ball and a strike. CC's velocity, we saw those first 2 pitches, 90-92. Now, he can throw a little bit harder than that, but we're not quite through, only about halfway through spring training. Building up arm strength. Pitch is hit on the ground towards 3rd, and it's by Alex Rodriguez, and on down the left field line. It bounds off the wall. Bill Hall's up on it. He throws into 2nd, and it's too late. Desmond has a leadoff double to get things started for the Nationals this afternoon. Well, you saw Bill Hall in left. You saw Alex Rodriguez in 3rd. Let's check out the rest of the Yankees on defense, brought to you by the Home Depot. Hall, Granderson, and Jones in the outfield. Rodriguez, Bernier at short. Cano at 2nd, Teixeira at 1st, Cervelli doing the catching for CC.
Now, Kenny, you talk about velocity in spring training for CC Sabathia, not that big of a deal. I think more important, location, getting that fastball in on the righties.
Second hitter, Steve Lombardozzi, the 3rd baseman. He tries to lay down a bunt, pops it up in the air, and it's going to go into foul territory. So the Nationals playing some small ball right at the start here. Lombardozzi was a minor leaguer last year, played in AA and in AAA. He hit .310 at AAA after his promotion. There is the manager of the Nationals, Davey Johnson. Took over in about June last year. Nationals are a club on the upswing. A lot of people feel they have a chance to contend at least for a wild card in the National League East. They've got some pitchers. Lombardozzi tries to bunt, fouls it off. The count goes 0-2. Of course, New Yorkers remember Davey Johnson during his time with the New York Mets, managed him to a world title in 1986. Nationals 2010, they won 69 games. 2011, they won 80 games. And 15 seasons as Major League Manager. The Mets, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Washington. And all those previous stops prior to Washington, this ball is lined into center field for a base hit. Desmond broke back to 2nd. He'll make it as far as 3rd. And the Nationals have runners at the corners with nobody out.
Well, Lombardozzi trying to lay down a bunt was not successful, and then he does a good job hitting with 2 strikes. We'll take another look at the pitch, and it looked like a slider that just spun in the middle of the plate. Desmond had to freeze on the line drive, eventually makes his way over to 3rd base. A nice piece of hitting right there with 2 strikes from Lombardozzi.
So CC in an early jam here in the 1st inning. He'll face the veteran Mark DeRosa, who's playing at first base. DeRosa can play just about anywhere on the field. He's battled injuries the last couple of years, in particular hand and wrist injuries. Very solid player, though. That pitch is in there for a called strike. Well, saying about Davey Johnson is his 4 prior stops to the Washington Nationals. In all of those places where he managed, teams had a winning record, and his lifetime percentage is .563. Pitch misses the outside corner. It's 1-1. And .563 of all living managers, there's only one manager alive who has a better winning percentage than Davey Johnson. And it's actually a manager Davey Johnson played for in Baltimore, Earl Weaver. Earl is over .580, 58%. Pitch in there for a call strike. Looked like a changeup. Yeah,
looked like a little changeup. And you're talking about Davey Johnson. There was some talk he might not come back for this year, and why wouldn't you? I mean, the Nationals, like you said, a team that is on the upswing, a rotation that is stacked. See the 16th Major League season for Davey Johnson as a manager.
I guess offensively, Kenny may be a little bit challenged, looking to score a few more runs this year, but their rotation is solid.
That is outside for a ball. Looks like in the early going here, CC's having a little problem locating. Count is 2-2.
Sometimes with CC, you see him falling towards a third base dugout a little bit, and the slider becomes a little bit flat. Off to a rough start. We'll see if he can straighten it out.
Little bouncer foul over near the Nationals dugout. Count holds at 2 balls and 2 strikes. I saw Joe Girardi there, and Joe Girardi watching CC intently along with Larry Rothschild, but be interesting to talk to Joe later on in the ballgame, get his reaction to the Andy Pettitte signing, which is it's got to be the biggest news in baseball today.
You come to the ballpark today looking forward to CC Sabathia, Phil Hughes pitching, maybe Mariano Rivera.
Ball is fouled off.
The buzz around the stadium and the clubhouse. Andy Pettitte coming back to the Yankees.
That news was broken by our very own Jack Curry.
Good for Jack. And, you know, Jack mentioned to us when he got this story, he said, you know, guys, this is like for me hitting a home run would be like for you guys.
Maybe we should explain to the fans. We were getting ready to do our normal open of the game.
Yep.
And Jack comes running up to us, hey, did you hear the news? No, we hadn't heard the news. And that's why our open changed dramatically within a space of maybe 2 minutes. That pitch is low and the count is full at 3-2. So kudos to Jack.
Did he break the news on Twitter and YesNetwork.com? Good for him.
Let's see what David Johnson has up his sleeve here. Runners at first and third. 3-2 count on Mark DeRosa, the first baseman. Let's see if Lombardozzi is on the move here. He's going, and the pitch is outside for ball 4. The bases are loaded.
Well, interesting pitch selection. CC Sabathia, 3-2 changeup that just missed a little bit. You know, during the regular season, that changeup such a big pitch for CC. He just drops it off the plate, ball 4. Before you know it, bases loaded, nobody out.
Here's Wilson Ramos, the designated hitter. Of course, the big news with him this winter, he's from Venezuela. He was abducted at gunpoint and held for 51 hours for ransom. Pitches high for ball 1. See, Cervelli's going to go out and talk to CC, try and settle him down. But I guess there was a raid and they not recaptured, but they freed him. Government agents freed him from the mountains in Venezuela, and he was unharmed. But he said he was scared, as you would be. Bullets flying everywhere, and they captured the people who abducted the kidnappers, and I guess they're up for trial right now. But all things worked out well for Ramos. High for ball 2. He's an up-and-coming catcher, and actually finished 6th in the National League in the Rookie of the Year balloting. Hit 15 home runs a year ago. Bases loaded, nobody out. Desmond, Lombardozzi, and DeRosa, the runners on from third to first. CC Sabathia struggling here in the first inning. Pitch is fouled off.
Yeah, he stepped it up a notch right there. 96 miles an hour on the gun. Challenging Ramos with a 2-0 fastball right down the middle.
I guess this is for a pitcher. Bases loaded, nobody out. It's like a hopeless place. You don't want to be there. Bouncing ball. This could be 2. Or near the Cano. Over to Teixeira. And there's a double play, but a run will score as Desmond crosses home plate. The Nationals take a 1-0 lead. I guess that's as well as you could hope for in a situation like this. Get a ground ball at one of your infielders.
Pitcher's best friend. Fastball right down the middle. Rolled over. A little 6-4-3. CC Sabathia will trade the run for 2 outs and try to work his way out of the first inning.
So the Nationals now have Lombardozzi at third with 2 down. And it'll bring up the catcher, Jesus Flores, who has a chance to be the backup for Ramos this year. CC starts him with a curve, and he drops it in there for a strike. The Nationals AAA club is at Syracuse in the International League, and that's what Flores did last year. Pitch is fouled at the plate. Might have got a piece of Cervelli to count as 0-2. 21 pitches this inning. 14 strikes, 7 of them out of the strike zone.
Normally you would look at that ratio balls to strikes and say pretty good, but they haven't been quality strikes, Kenny. You know, some sliders that are just rolling, fastball missing location a little bit. It looks like CC just rushing a little bit mechanically to stay on his back leg just a little bit longer.
That one just missed, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Sabathia, since the start of his career in 2001, has won more games than any other pitcher. One more game than Roy Halladay. 176 to 175. Missed again, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes as the count levels off. Be interesting to see CC's reaction at the end of the inning here. He knows he kept his team on the field way too long. Hitters want to hit. 2-2 pitch in the dirt. Good stop by Cervelli. The count has gone full at 3-2.
Yeah, nice play by Cervelli, saving a run right there. Looks like it's a slider. Yanked down and in. A nice play. I'm sure you watch Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, watching CC Sabathia, you know, waiting to get him in the dugout to give him maybe a little clue on what he's doing wrong mechanically and get him back on track. Trying to make a pitch right here, 3-2 with 2 outs.
Ball is lined in the left field. It's going to be in there for a hit, maybe extra bases. Lombardozzi's going to score to make it 2-0 Washington. And going into second is Jesus Flores with an RBI double, the 3rd hit of the inning for the Washington Nationals. And they've all been well hit. 2 doubles and a single.
You wonder maybe if Larry would take a little trip to the mound and see if he can get CC through this 1st inning. Fastball middle in. You see the reaction from CC Sabathia. It has been a struggle early. Not happy with the end result.
Here's the veteran Jason Michaels, who comes to the Nationals camp as a non-roster player. And he lines one to center field for Granderson, who's going back a few steps. That ball's hit hard, but Granderson makes the catch. And that's finally going to do it. For the Nationals here in the top of the 1st, they pick up a run on 3 hits. They lead 2-0. First, the Yankees find themselves trailing 2-0 to the Nationals, and the Yankees starting lineup will be presented by Lexus. At the very top, Curtis Granderson will be in the leadoff spot today. Robinson Cano will be at second. Alex Rodriguez at third. Mark Teixeira will be at first base. Andrew Jones at right. Raul Ibanez will be the designated hitter. Francisco Cervelli does the catching. Bill Hall will be in left field, and Doug Bernier will be playing shortstop and batting ninth.
Curtis Granderson getting ready in the on-deck circle. Sizing up Gio Gonzalez. It's a little bit different in the Washington Nationals uniform. You see the numbers last year with the Oakland A's. A fantastic year. 16 wins, an ERA just over 3. Look at our Volkswagen pitcher scouting report. Mentioned new addition to the Nationals. They traded 4 of their top prospects to get Gonzalez. Won those 16 games last year for Oakland. Was an all-star. He's made a good first impression with the Washington Nationals. 7 innings in the spring. Has not given up a run.
Nationals have a very strong rotation, as you mentioned, Flash, including Gio Gonzalez. They also signed Edwin Jackson to fortify their rotation. So the two newcomers. Gonzalez has good stuff. Every once in a while, he can be a little wild. He walked 91 batters last year, didn't lead the American League. Pitch to Curtis Granderson over the outside corner for a call strike. Granderson having a good spring, hitting over 300, 316 to be exact. The 0-1 pitch, and that is outside, 1-1.
Well, you mentioned the good numbers, Kenny. Also a nice test facing a tough left-hander here. Curtis did such a great job hitting lefties last season as Kevin Long, the hitting instructor, looks on.
Curveball, and that just missed. 2-1. We might be wondering, where's Derek Jeter? He's usually in the leadoff spot. Well, Derek, we had talked to him in the clubhouse just before we came on the field. He's having a slight issue with a calf muscle. Check swing, and Granderson went around too far. It's 2-2. Now, Derek assured us it's not serious, and he'll be playing again in a couple of days. Russell Martin also has got a tightness in the groin, and he will be missing a few days. We can ask Joe Girardi for some updates, and certainly Jack Curry will enlighten us as to what's happening with these Yankee injuries of late. Full count now on Curtis Granderson.
I had a chance to talk to Joe behind the batting cage this morning, asked him how the spring was going, and that was his only concern, some of the minor injuries going around.
Payoff pitch. Granderson fouls it off. We're halfway through spring training. And that is one thing that every club wants to avoid. Injuries as we come to the close of spring training, and they wants the club to be healthy, get off to a good start.
And like you mentioned, nothing sounds to be too serious. Joe Girardi really being cautious here in the middle of the spring.
3-2 pitch again, and Granderson hits a little number off the end of the bat. It's going to be a tough play for Lombardozzi. Bare hands throws. It's not in time. Curtis Granderson has himself an infield single. Combination of power and speed last year for Granderson with the 41 homers and the 25 stolen bases. Here's the speed.
It's going to be a tough play for Lombardozzi, and a pretty good pitch from Gonzalez down and away off the end of the bat. Barehanded. Comes off with the throw, but Curtis Granderson runs too well. An infield base hit. Good start for the Yankees offensively.
So Granderson's aboard for Robinson Cano. Cano has yet to find his stroke thus far this spring, but you can't be all that concerned. He's only hitting 167, but one of the best pure hitters in the major leagues at the plate right now for the Yankees. Way outside, ball one. And Flash, those numbers would indicate that.
Yeah, sometimes you talk to a left-handed batter and they say, you know what, I need that good at bat in spring training against a tough lefty to kind of lock me in for the season. Really let the ball travel a little bit longer and go the other way.
There's a strike. Of course, these Yankees know Gio Gonzalez. His days with the Oakland A's. Gonzalez has won 31 games the last 2 years with Oakland. That's pretty good on a ball club that's usually challenged to score runs. Not much in the way of run support. Cano lines one to left field, and it's going to be in there for a base hit. Maybe more. Granderson's to third. They're going to wave him home. He's rounding third. Here's the throw to the plate, and he's in there. And the Yankees have cut it to a 2-1 ball game. As Robinson Cano with an opposite field double. And just like that, the Yankees are on the board.
And Robinson coming into this game, a batting average under 200. You know that is going to change. And maybe with this at bat right here, stays inside, drives it the other way. And Granderson will get his running in, scoring all the way from first base. Bobby Thompson, third base coach, waving him home, and he will score relatively easily. I wonder if that's one at bat for Robinson Cano that'll get him going the rest of the spring.
Here's somebody who has been going this spring. Alex Rodriguez hitting .333 with a home run. Fouls one back, strike one. In fact, the first pitch he saw this spring, he hit out of the ballpark right here at Steinbrenner Field. Now, Flash, that's what every hitter wants. They want somebody on first base who can score on a double. And Granderson certainly fits that mode. If you hit a double anywhere in the ballpark, he usually will score for you. You like those guys with speed ahead of you. in the lineup. Yankees down by a run. It's 2-1. Nobody out here in the bottom of the first. They've gotten on the board themselves very quickly here in the first inning. And that pitch looked like a changeup, and it's low for a ball.
It's the first run that Gonzalez has given up as a Washington National, mentioned in the Volkswagen Scouters report. 7 innings. Not giving up any runs until today, and a good opportunity for Alex here to drive a ball the other way, kind of like that first home run of his was in the opposite direction.
That pitch is low and inside. It's 2 balls and a strike. Of course, the Nationals rotation is a strong one, led by the phenom of a couple years ago who missed some time last year due to Tommy John surgery, Steven Strasburg. Curve, and it drops in neatly for a strike. 2-2. Jordan Zimmerman had an ERA just over 3 last year. John Lannon, Edwin Jackson, and Chien-Ming Wang, who was actually injured in yesterday's ball game over at Vieira against the Yankees. He strained a hamstring, but talking to Davey Johnson, he said he's been very impressive this spring, and they hope he'll be ready for the start of the season. Little numbered foul, actually hopped up and hit Alex. Count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, good news for Chien-Ming Wang. I mean, we watched a little bit of the highlights of yesterday's game. His sinker was moving all over the place and reminded me of the old Chien-Ming Wang from the Yankee days. It'll make Davey Johnson very happy. Hopefully the hamstring issue is not a major concern.
Well, we both know you can't have enough pitching. Curve is low and in the dirt. The count is full at 3-2. Good stop by Flores behind the plate. And for those of you who are just joining us, like we said, you can't have enough pitching. Andy Pettitte has re-signed a minor league deal with the Yankees, and they're going to give him enough time to get ready. They're not going to rush him, and at some point this year he might be rejoining the New York Yankees. Payoff pitch, breaking ball, foul at the plate. Count remains 3-2 on Alex Rodriguez. And that story was broken by our very own Jack Curry moments before today's game started. And we had Jack on in our open to give us the explanation of how that happened. We're going to have Brian Cashman, the Yankee GM, on in the 3rd inning. Brian will be explaining how this all came about.
And then we're going to have a chance to talk to Andy Pettitte, right?
Yeah, at 3 o'clock. Supposedly we're going to have Andy on the phone or thereabouts. We're planning on it.
We're hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping. 3-2 pitch, and it's foul tipped into the glove of Flores, and Alex Rodriguez is struck out. That's out number 1 for the Yankees. Let's check out the Nationals defense. It's brought to you by the Home Depot. Michaels, Harper, and Carroll in the outfield. Lombardozzi, Desmond, Blanco, and De Rosa in the infield. Flores doing the catching for Gio Gonzalez. The name that stands out for me there is Bryce Harper, just 19 years old. Pitch to Teixeira is low and inside for a ball. Last year, Teixeira, as you look at his numbers overall, right-handed was his strong side. Hit over 300 right-handed. Now his average was low batting left-handed, but hit a lot of home runs from the left-hand side of the plate. Little number, foul. Well, he mentioned during the course of spring training the weather has been just phenomenal, and that's the same today. Weather brought to you by Toyota. 82 degrees and sunny. That's been about the forecast for this upcoming week and the past week. And 51 degrees, that's not bad in the Bronx. I've played in a lot colder than that. That pitch is low for a ball. Didn't like it, but I had to.
The Yankees would sign up for that right now. 50 degrees when they get back to New York. But I flew down here Tuesday, Kenny. It was 70 degrees in New York. Just beautiful.
Speaking of Andy Pettitte, remember the game he pitched in the Bronx? It was snowing.
Yep.
2-1 pitch. That was the 1996 opening game. 3 balls and a strike, I should say, on Teixeira. Ball is hit on the ground towards short. Desmond has it. Cano scrambles back to second, and the throw over DeRosa's in time for out number 2. So Cano, after doubling in a run, has not moved from second base, and there's 2 down. And that'll bring up the right fielder, Andrew Jones. Jones takes a pitch low for a ball. And one thing about Gonzalez and why he's had trouble with the Yankees during his time with the A's, his control is not as sharp as you would like, and the Yankees would wait him out, and they could get him out of the game by the 4th or the 5th inning. Pitch count got up too high. That pitch is inside, and it has Andrew Jones scrambling to get out of the way. 2 balls and no strikes.
Think about Gonzalez, Kenny. I mean, he had the ERA just over 3.12 in the American League last year, and how that's going to translate to the National League. I mean, obviously, no DH in the National League, a couple of easy outs in the National League lineup. He should thrive.
Pitch is inside for a ball. Opportunity to pitch around a number 8 hitter to bring that pitcher to the plate, maybe in a tough situation where you have runners at second and third and 1 and 2 outs. Those are the sort of things that the pitchers in the American League do not have that luxury. You got to face a hitter. Let's see if Jones has the green light here on the 3-0 pitch. No, he doesn't. He takes that one in there for a called strike. We'll never know. Flash, when you got that green light, you were letting it go, weren't you?
Especially if it was a fastball.
3-1 pitch and a check swing, and that misses inside. The inning will continue. The Yankees now have the potential tying run at second, go ahead run on first against Gio Gonzalez, and right now looks like Steve McCatty, the pitching coach, is going to come out and talk to Gio Gonzalez, who's having his problems here, just as CC Sabathia did in the top of the inning. There's Steve McCatty, who was a longtime pitcher in the American League years ago with the Oakland A's. Fans' copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. So Davey Johnson has his pitching coach Steve McCatty trying to settle down Gio Gonzalez. Davey Johnson, manager of the year in 1997 with the Baltimore Orioles. It's the Orioles' last winning season. And what did he get him? Got him fired. And he also was a pretty good second baseman, 4-time All-Star. Won 3 Gold Gloves while playing for the Orioles. And the first pitch to Raul Ibanez is in there for a called strike. Ibanez having a slow spread. That's what he did last year with the Phillies. 20 home runs, impressive numbers, 84 runs batted in there, but just 083 this spring. He's yet to hit his stride. Curveball is outside, and the count levels off at a ball and a strike.
We see the numbers for spring training, not real good for Ibanez, and I guess traditionally he's been a slow spring training hitter. Freddie Garcia, usually his spring training numbers are not great, but these guys are proven veterans.
Swing and a miss, and the count is 1-2. Good fastball from Gonzalez.
Up in the zone a little bit, a little life. But Ibanez is going to be asked to do a good job against right-handed pitching. Finds himself facing a tough lefty today.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. So Gonzalez leaves 2 men on base. The Yankees do pick up a run on 2 hits at the end of 1. It's been a long inning. Bryce Harper will be coming up when we come back. Well, Yankee fans, if you want to guarantee you will have a seat on opening day, get the new 12-game opening day ticket plan. You get 12 great games, including opening day. Plans are available in a variety of locations, so purchase your opening day 12-game ticket plan today by calling 212-YANKEES or visiting Yankees.com. On to the second inning. After a lengthy first inning, both pitchers kind of struggled. CC Sabathia gave up 2 runs on 3 hits in the top of the first, and Gio Gonzalez gave up a run on 2 hits to the Yankees in the bottom of the first, and both pitchers kind of struggled with their control. Here is the right fielder, Brett Carroll, non-roster player. Tried to open some eyes during the course of spring training. Here's CC's first pitch at the top of the second, and it's upstairs for ball 1.
Well, you look for some improvement now from CC Sabathia here in the second inning. Has some time in the dugout with Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach. See if he can get his game straightened out.
Ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Be Carroll, Harper, and Blanco. Bottom third of the order for the Nats. There is 19 years old, Bryce Harper. Line drive, center field, solid single for Carroll, and he is on with a base hit. And Bryce Harper was a #1 pick overall by the Nationals a few years back. As I mentioned, just 19 years old. He does have a chance to make this ball club. Born in Las Vegas, Nevada. 2010 Golden Spikes Award, best amateur baseball player. First overall pick 2010. Futures game selection last year. And a #2 best prospect in 2012, rated by MajorLeagueBaseball.com. The best overall prospect, Matt Moore of the Rays, the left-hander. And he is something to watch as well. So here's Harper. Pretty good year last year in the minors. Takes a breaking ball from Sabathia for a strike. Good curve. 16 homers, 65 runs batted in. He moved up to Double-A, hit another home run, and so he finished the year with 17 home runs overall. Fouls went off, and quickly he's behind on the count. No balls and 2 strikes.
Well, there's been some talk he might be able to make this team, Kenny. You know, the manager Davey Johnson looking on today, and we'll get a good indication of how he can hang in there against a tough left-handed pitcher in CC Sabathia.
I think that's one reason he's on this trip, because the Nationals want to see how he does against left-handed pitching. In the dirt, 1 ball and 2 strikes. After the season was completed, the minor league season last year, Harper went to the Arizona Fall League, which is kind of a 1 step below. It's only for the best prospects from each organization. And if you do well there, they feel you're almost major league ready. And he hit .333 with 6 homers and 26 runs batted in the Arizona Fall League. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Good hard slider strikes him out. Sabathia picks up his first strikeout as Bryce Harper.
Well, it might have been the best slider he has thrown this afternoon. Harper gets a good look at it, down and away. That front hip just left a little bit early.
There's a reaction as he gets his first taste of CC Sabathia. Here's Andres Blanco, the second baseman. And that is in there for a call strike from Sabathia. 94 miles an hour. Now, Flash, isn't this a time of spring where you want your pitchers to start letting it go a little bit more? This is a 3rd start for Sabathia this spring.
I'm thinking maybe, you know, this afternoon, obviously you want to get your pitch count where you want it to be, but probably his next start, where mentally I think you start dialing it in a little bit. And, you know, I got to get myself ready for opening day.
Runner goes, the pitch is fouled off. Maybe a hit and run put on by Davey Johnson.
Coming to camp this year, Brian Cashman did a great job of re-signing CC Sabathia, and he's the one pitcher Joe Girardi just does not have to worry about. You know, as long as he's healthy, you know what you're going to get out of him. Some question marks around the rest of the rotation. A very talented group, but where is everybody going to fit in? Got a little more complicated today with the Andy Pettitte news.
Pitch is fouled into the glove of Cervelli, and Blanco is out number 2. 2 straight strikeouts for CC Sabathia.
It was a good slider to Harper, and there looked like a fastball in on the hands, and CC starting to locate that fastball in on the righties. And when he does that, you know mechanically he is a little bit better than he was in the first inning, so things starting to change for CC Sabathia.
Now the lineup turns over, and back to the top to Ian Desmond, the shortstop, who had a double and scored in the first inning. 2 outs, a runner at first. And Sabathia misses for ball 1. Pitch is swung on and missed on a changeup, a ball in his track. We mentioned the Nationals kind of looking for a leadoff hitter, somebody who's reliable, can get on base, have a decent on base percentage. They want to set things up for hitters like Jason Worth and Michael Morris, who had a big year last year, hit over 30 home runs. Pitch is hit in the air towards second base. And Cano has it, and CC Sabathia pitches around a leadoff single here in the second inning. We'll be back. The Yankees trail 2-1. Today's game on Yes is brought to you in part by Chevy. With a full line of award-winning models, find out more at ChevyOffers.com. Doesn't that look good, Flash? You like sprinkles? Oh, yeah. Or straight up?
The sprinkles on top of the Carvel.
Yeah. Francisco Cervelli. The Yankees trailing 2-1. We're in the bottom of the second. Bottom third of the order for the Yankees. Cervelli, Hall, and Bernier. Gio Gonzalez. And he misses inside for ball 1. The last inning, when Steve McCaddy, the pitching coach, went to the mound, it was quite obvious he told Gonzalez, let's use your fastball here. And he did and got out of the jam. He's got a pretty good one. Ball is hit towards the hole. Great stop by the third baseman Lombardozzi. The throw is in time. Beautiful play. Rob Cervelli of a hit.
Lombardozzi trying to make this club as a utility man. Cervelli hits this ball hard. Lombardozzi lays out to his left, and a good strong throw across the diamond gets Cervelli by a half a step.
Yeah, the third baseman for the Nationals is Ryan Zimmerman. He did not make the trip today. He's all-star third baseman, power, Gold Glover, and just signed An extension.
Yeah, he's going to be there a while.
Yeah, he will. Here's a pitch to Bill Hall. Speaking of trying to make the ball club. That's what he did with the Giants and the Astros last year. Speaking of the Astros, we'll see them here tomorrow on St. Patrick's Day. Should be a fun afternoon. Good day to go green. Breaking ball, and it's a good one. In there for call, strike 3, and Bill Hall is gone. Third strikeout for Gio Gonzalez.
Gonzalez a little shaky in the first inning, as was CC Sabathia, but he looks like he's locked it in here in the second. Big breaking ball. It's like a curveball right there, dropped around the outside corner.
Here's Doug Bernier, who's playing shortstop today and batting ninth, as we told you earlier. Derek Jeter, a slight problem with calf muscle. Derek didn't seem too concerned with it, did he, Flash, when we talked to him?
No, he had a big smile on his face. He'll be ready to go and just, take a few days off maybe. But, Bernier is a kid who has opened some eyes this camp. Joe Girardi raving about him. Shortened his stroke a little bit. Swinging the bat a lot better.
He mentioned in his pregame press conference that he's been impressed by Bernier and what he's been able to do this spring.
Spring training different for different levels of player. Bernier just trying to open some eyes in case there's a spot later on during the year.
Curveball is fouled back and out of play. 2 outs, nobody on for the Yankees here in the second. Gonzalez's pitch count is up to 40. I'm telling you, I like this Nationals team. I think they're moving in the right direction. They've got a good bullpen led by Drew Storen, their young closer, had 43 saves last year. Swung on and missed, strike 3. So 4 strikeouts in 2 innings for Gio Gonzalez. It's on to the third. Brian Cashman, the Yankee GM, coming up. Back at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees trailing the Nationals 2-1 as we go to the top of the third inning. We're going to bring in Jack Curry, who has a special guest today, and Brian Cashman, the Yankee GM, has been kind enough to join us. You got any news for us, guys?
How about that, Kenny? Brian Cashman in the booth, which means we have a 4-man booth. And Brian, we have to start with the Andy Pettitte news, and I have to ask you, how did this all materialize? How did this come about?
Well, I mean, it really started this winter, and it's continued since this winter. I got a call from Andy in late December. He actually said, based on a radio interview he heard with our buddy Michael Kay that I did, Michael had asked me apparently in the radio something about Andy Pettitte and, our pitching issues and would I ever have I checked in with Andy, and I hadn't. And I said, I'm not going to bother Andy with his retirement. I said, if he wants to play, he knows how to call us, because we've always told him I believed he retired early and he could still pitch and he could help us, and if he was ever interested, we'd be interested. Andy called me in late December and started talking to me about that and said it got his juices flowing to hear me say that. And I was kind of caught off guard. So I said, are you willing to commit, to playing? And then he said, another thing that caught me off guard, he said, no. He said, I'd like to work out for about 6 weeks or so and get a sense of how my body is, if it can match my mind. I'm just telling you right now, which really didn't mean much to me. He said, I'm thinking about it. But, he wasn't willing to follow through. I even made him an offer. And he said no, and it was a significant offer. It was, similar money to what he was making before, in the 10, 12 million range. And I said, if I offer this to you, would you take it? And he said, no, I'm not in. I'm just thinking about it right now. I probably need about 6 weeks. And that put me in a bad spot because I said, well, I got to improve the club. And I actually even told Andy, I said, I'm having conversations with Seattle about Michael Pineda. I said, I'm talking to Hiroki Kuroda. So I was very honest with him because I have that relationship with him and I can trust him.
Ball hit down the left field line, and this one is actually out of the ballpark for a home run for Steve Lombardozzi, and it's now 3-1. Lombardozzi with a single, and now a home run. I got a question for you, Brian. Do you think the fact Andy was here earlier this spring as an instructor, do you think that got him going as well? Well,
the story continues. So he said to me, listen, your job is to constantly do everything you can to improve the club. I can't commit. I can't accept your offer. I'm not, I'm not in. I don't know if I will be in. I'm going to work out. And if you make some moves like those in the meantime, I'll understand. And if I'll work out, and if I'm interested in 6 weeks, I'll connect with you. And if you haven't done anything, we'll talk. 3 weeks later, I'd done a number of things, and so I called him. I said, we're done. I don't have any room now. And he shut it down. And that was cool. And then he showed up in spring training as a guest instructor, and, for a few days. Got all wrapped up in the excitement, what we got going on, the specialty, the players we got, the teammates, the camaraderie, and then he said, hey, I got to meet with you. And so he called me into Joe's office. We shut the doors, just him and I. And he goes, you know what? I stopped working out for a week to 10 days after you called me, and I shut it down, but then I missed it, so I started going again. So I've been throwing the whole time since you talked to me, and now I'm here. I want to play. And I was like, man, it's like, I don't know what to do about it. It's like, I got 6 starters for 5 spots. Our budget spent. What I offered you in the winter, I don't have that now. And so we've kind of talked a lot since then with ownership, with Andy, and to the Steinbrenner credit, how Steinbrenner's family is willing to stretch because of who he is. We've done a minor league contract now, and with a lot of conversations, knowing that, hey, it's been a while since he's thrown. We'll bring you in as a non-roster invite, stretch you out, and see where this goes. But we know if he's healthy, we know what he can do. I mean, what I said in the winter on that radio show, and what my heart believes is a healthy Andy Pettitte is a extremely effective player. That we have a lot of good pitchers here, but there's very few Andy Pettittes if they're healthy. So we're excited. This is clearly, what he had a chance to do in the winter with the money and wasn't willing to commit, and what he's doing now, if this works out with the money, it shows this is about, he wants all in, and he wants to be here, and he wants to help this team win a championship and be a part of something special if he can, work through it all. And so he's made a lot of sacrifices in his pure interest in coming back and playing baseball.
Brian, what about this roller coaster ride? Because you talk about this cropping up in December from a radio interview. You make an offer, it gets declined, and then he comes back again and says he wants to do it. I mean, this really is a very interesting story of how Andy lands back in pinstripes.
Yeah, this has been a roller coaster, and in terms of we just had very private, honest dialogue throughout. He knows what we think of him. He loves this organization and knows he'll always be a part of it one way or the other. And that blood got pumping back in him, and he's back with us, and we hope he'll play a big role with everything we have here. I think we have a lot of assets that we're trying to line up to take a heck of a run for 2012, and we're hopeful that Andy can be a big part of that.
Wilson Ramos is just doubled down the right field line.
Brian, when I heard the news, obviously you have 6 starters for 5 spots, and with Andy coming back, it gets a little bit more crowded. You're going to be patient with him, let him stretch his arm out. This probably will be something that will be revisited in April, May, maybe?
Yeah, this is something to be continued later, or to be discussed later. It's one of those things where, listen, to be quite honest, he has not pitched in a game since October of 2010. He is, pushing, the 40-year mark, and so I know Andy knows his body. But at the same time, Andy hasn't gone through something like this, so we have to put him through a full spring training, get him stretched out. He's apparently been throwing bullpens. I think he's thrown 6 total off the top of my head, he told me. Wow. He actually came in and threw a bullpen the other day for me, privately, Girardi, and Larry Rothschild, and I brought Gene Michael over to watch it too. Not for an audition, but just to get a sense for how he felt, because he's been doing these bullpens on his own. So the morning of the Boston game, which was a night game, Andy showed up here at 7:30. He was up in Orlando with his family. You know, you guys saw him. We were playing the Braves in Orlando that day, and he came over him and I visited by the batting cage talking further about this. And then that next morning, he drove down and threw a bullpen in front of us, so no one was here, and to get a kind of sense where he was, because he's been doing throwing, but as you know, he hasn't been doing he's been doing throwing and running and everything else like that, but not in this type of controlled setting. And putting the cleats on in the Florida sun is different than doing bullpens maybe at the house, even though, you know, it's all going to help him be farther along than he would have been. But how far away is he? We're just trying to get a feel for it, and is this something he still wants to do? And as we try to figure out if we can stretch the money and get approvals for it and all that stuff. So this has been something that's been discussed for a while, and again since December, and it's kind of taken its twists and turns, despite not even having a need in theory at all for starting pitching. I mean, right now, but as they say, you can never. I talked to Hal Steinbrenner. Hal reiterated to me the other day, because you can never have enough, right? And he said his dad always said that, and I said, you're right. You can never have enough, and especially in New York.
Well, to look at Andy Pettitte, he looks the same as he did when he was pitching. Physically, when you look at Andy, he looks in great shape. Now, it's a matter of getting his arm together, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not worried about his arm as much as getting in shape as much as his legs. Mm-hmm. Because I do think he's been throwing a lot. Like with his kids, he told me how he's been throwing batting practice a lot. If he's done about 6 bullpens. I think today he's probably lined up on his own back in Deer Park, Texas, to do another one. That would be 7. So he's been getting it going, and don't so the arm's probably all right. It's just really. The lower half is what I'd be more worried about, to be quite honest, and allowing that the time frame. I mean, the previous 2 years we had with him before retirement, I think the second year before retirement, late in the year, he had a groin issue with a lower back and stuff like that. So these are things just, hey, you could be 25 and have those things crop up regardless. I said, but where he's at and the time off, in some instances maybe it benefits him, in other instances maybe it doesn't. It's a hard thing to get a feel for, so it's really important to, instead of, because the season's getting ready to start, let's get him through a proper process like he normally would go, full bore, and see where it takes both of us. And bottom line, if he's healthy, he's going to help us. He should. There's no doubt about it, because this man knows how to pitch. He used to be a power guy. Then he did, like a lot of guys can never make the transformation. Andy did. Just like you see Freddie Garcia has done the same thing. They know how to pitch, even if their stuff's not as great. They can sometimes will their way through it if their stuff's not there that day, or he knows what to do and how to do it. And so as long as he's healthy, he's going to put us in a position to be successful, I think.
Brian, is there a timetable? Will we see Andy here this weekend?
This weekend? No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're going to see Andy here.
Brian, do you mind staying for the next half inning?
That's fine.
We appreciate you being with us. The news about Andy Pettitte. Brian Cash will discuss it more when we come back. Bottom of the third here at Steinbrenner Field. The Nationals leading the Yankees by a score of 3-1. Yankee General Manager Brian Cashman has been kind enough to join us. And for those of you who might have missed it, the Yankees have signed Andy Pettitte. Yes, that Andy Pettitte to a minor league deal with the possibility of Andy working himself back into shape and joining the Yankees. And Brian, I'd like to ask you one question. This doesn't mean you don't have faith in the rest of the staff. It's just that you have a chance to sign somebody with the pedigree of Andy Pettitte.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's one of those things where first to answer finish Jack's questions off. I think we think that Andy will be here in Tampa early next week during the week, so probably Tuesday range. But yeah, no, actually, we feel we have a good, healthy, a lot of real quality starters here that we're excited about. We think that can help in a significant way, but so when we didn't have the additions of Pineda and Kuroda, obviously, when Andy and I started talking, and Andy was unwilling to commit because he just he wanted to work through the process, body and mind, but he was admitting that it's something that's on his mind. By the time he worked through that, we had already made moves. So then we certainly couldn't have the same conversation we had in December. Wasn't even sure if we could have a conversation at all, but at the same time, there's a recognition this is Andy Pettitte. He's a left-handed starter that knows how to pitch in New York, that still can do it. He didn't have a career-ending injury. Just took a year off because that's what he felt was important to him at that time, and now his juices are flowing again, and he knows how to pitch. So it's one of those things where, well, you know what? Let's continue to talk. So we had more conversations, and ownership gave kind of a parameter of what they'd be willing to do, but no more. Which Andy Pettitte, a healthy Andy Pettitte, is clearly worth more than that, I think, as we all know. And it's one of those things, how do you not say yes to this opportunity despite what you have? So I'm thankful that ownership here is that committed. Yeah, does it cause, obviously, questions of how this gets handled? Of course. We don't have to handle that right now. That can get kicked down the road over time because, obviously, Andy has to get in shape. He's got to pitch in minor league games on a minor league contract, get stretched out, get healthy and productive, and obviously up to 100 pitches and stuff. And then we'll be in a position to make decisions. Who knows where we're at in the rotation in New York at that time? But I just, as I reiterate, know what a healthy Andy Pettitte from the left side, can do, and that's a welcome addition regardless of what we have. So we'll figure it out over time, but this is a great opportunity that we felt we could not pass up on, and I'm really happy that Andy's choosing to rejoin us.
Brian, you're very enthusiastic about this, as you should be. What did you guys see in that bullpen session that you referenced?
What we're used to seeing, to be honest. I mean, he looked good. He looked good. He had been throwing and stuff, and I'll let Andy speak. But again, it wasn't, even before he started throwing, I wanted to make sure, I was like, Andy, you're not here to try out. We're just here to kind of get a feel for how much have you been throwing, and just get a look at it and see how you feel with the cleats on in the Florida sun, even though it was the morning, versus what you do in the gym in Deer Park, Texas. It's just, as John and Kenny, as you guys know, when you work out in the winter back home, and then you get down here for the first few days, the stiffness and it's different. It's just different. And so I wanted to get a feel and allow Andy to get that same feel and to give us both a little bit of information. And I think Andy felt like, he was he got a little jelly-legged after about 20 pitches or so, despite doing so it gave him a better feel of, the time frame maybe necessary. And jelly-legged might not be the right word, but his legs got a little tired. Yeah. Which is good. That's a good, it was information. And so anyway, at the end of the day, that was an early morning before a long day, which culminated in a game of the Red Sox that night here at Legends at Steinbrenner Field. And we continued having conversations up until last night. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And then I talked to Andy this morning with Hal Steinbrenner and Randy Levine. And we're all in. He's all in, and it's hopefully a great opportunity for everybody.
Hey, Brian, how about some of the reaction from his future teammates, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera? Had you had a chance to talk to them about it?
Briefly, I've talked to Derek, and I have talked to Mariano. I mean, you know what? You talk to people, first, that you respect. In this case, it's kind of a waste of time, but you do it anyway. I mean, like when I went to Girardi at first, first my conversation was with Andy. We're just, really between Andy and I. And then eventually when I included other people, I knew what their answers would be, but I had to go through that process. So you know, talking to Mariano, talking to Derek Jeter, talking to Joe Girardi, talking to Larry Rothschild, you know, and Larry hardly knows Andy for the most part. He just knows him from the opposing dugouts. You knew they would be like, really? Yeah, that would help us if he's a healthy Andy Pettitte. We get him back to where he was when he finished just in 2010. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a benefit to us, and count me in. But you knew that, and you knew. And it's not just what Andy does on the field as a competitor; it's what he does in the clubhouse as a teammate. And but you know, again, it's a great opportunity. He's excited for the challenge. He'll be able to speak to that here at some point. I can tell you. He knows what he's up against. He knows, like any of these guys right now that have been playing, this is a hard game that very few people have the ability to play and play well, and it's a challenge to maintain your health and consistency on a daily basis. And Andy knows what he's getting into, and he's been battling that his whole career and had success his whole career.
Brian, we want to thank you for coming up and speaking to us. Yankee GM Brian Cashman on the signing of Andy Pettitte. A big day in Yankee history. Andy Pettitte might be back, and maybe sooner than you think. We'll be back in just a moment. Fourth inning coming up. Florida and Orlando to duel Dwight Howard and the Magic in the first game after the trade deadline. Coverage on Yes starts at 6:30 with the Nets pregame. Then Ryan Ruocco and Mike Fratello have all the action courtside. Nets Magic all starts tonight at 6:30 only on Yes. And of course the news with the Magic is Dwight Howard has decided to stay with the Magic, and that well, maybe not good news for the Nets fans. Of course the big news here today, Andy Pettitte signs a minor league deal. Will be back in Yankee pinstripes, maybe down the road a piece, but we'll, of course, you have to stay tuned. We'll let you know. Jack Curry certainly will let you know when that day comes. Jack was the one that broke the news just before today's ball game. New pitcher in the game for the Yankees, Rafael Soriano, as we go to the fourth inning. But Jack has other news as well. It's not just Andy Pettitte. There's all kinds of things happening here in the Yankee universe, and a lot of it has to do with injuries, Jack.
It does, Kenny, and we talked to Joe Girardi in the dugout a few hours before the Andy Pettitte news took the day over, but there are other things that Yankee fans and the Yankees need to be updated on. Of course, Derek Jeter has a tender left calf. Joe Girardi said he doesn't think it's anything serious, but he said, listen, I'm not playing him until Tuesday. Now, for fans who want to get a little bit worried, it was the right calf that kept him out for about a month last year. Jeter doesn't believe it's a big thing. We know Derek. He doesn't like talking about injuries. He doesn't think any injuries are ever going to slow him down. But it's spring training, so of course the Yankees want to give him a couple of days off.
Ball hitting the air to right field off the bat of Brett Carroll. Going back and still going back is Andrew Jones, and he makes the catch. Andrew Jones tested as he crashes into the wall, and it's out number one.
Drifting Florida wind, a little breeze, not a real stiff breeze today, but drifting back on the track up against the wall. Nice play.
Andrew Jones makes the play. And here is Bryce Harper, center fielder. It's not only Jeter who's having issues, is it?
Right behind Bryce Harper is Francisco Cervelli. Well, he wasn't supposed to catch today. Russell Martin was, but he has a stiff left groin. And again, Girardi said, listen, I'm just going to give him a couple of days off. Another groin injury, Nick Swisher. He said he feels better. He ran today. He hit. But at this time of the season, you just want to take a break. We see the list right there. And guys, you know what all of this tells me? And Joe Girardi addressed this in the dugout today. I look at Eduardo Nunez, and I see this veteran Yankee team. I think he is going to end up being a crucial player for the Yankees this year because Joe Girardi is going to have to watch the Jeters and the Rodriguezes. And even though they might want to play 150 or 155 games, they might play 140. And a guy like Nunez, Joe said before the game, he will get substantial at-bats filling in for those players.
Well, Nunez hasn't played since the first game of spring training. He was hit by a pitch over in Clearwater. And did Joe give you any indication when he's coming back? He's going to swing a bat tomorrow. He's been allowed to take ground balls for the last couple of days, but once that hand bothered him in batting practice a couple of days ago, Joe said, listen, got to give him 3 straight days off. But that's what I'm kind of talking about is you have to get these guys healthy heading into the season. And I think Nunez, the younger player with the fresher legs, I could see him spelling Jeter for 20 games at short, Alex for another 15 or so because Chavez can play some third too. But he looms as a very important player. Hot smash to Cano. He turns and fires and throws out the phenom Bryce Harper for out number 2. So, Jack, you have proven to be worth your weight in gold once again today.
Did you guys love Cashman telling us that story? I wish I knew all of this was going on.
At 7:30 in the morning, you would have been here, right?
7:30 in the morning, and then the fact that in December, Andy Pettitte hears something on Michael Kay's radio show and says Cashman was talking about him.
I want to clear something up right away.
Oh, go ahead.
We can't give Michael Kay any sort of credit, can we, for this?
They were Cashman's words.
His name was mentioned. We have to give him kudos.
I don't know if I can do it. But how do you keep that story as quiet as he kept it, Jack? Because I know your background reporting, you trying to find out these things, and he kept it quiet all the way till today.
I think, John, much like reporters in New York are very seasoned and very experienced, working in New York as a GM is what Brian Cashman knows. And he knows he has a circle of executives around him, and he named them. Girardi knew, Rothschild knew, Stick Michael knew. I bet you there were a couple of other people in the organization. Randy Levine would know. Hal Steinbrenner probably knew.
Exactly.
Billy Epler, who is Brian's right-hand man. But, they kept that group very small, and the news was not broken until today.
Soriano has a 1-2-3 inning as Andres Blanco flies out to Andrew Jones. Yankees coming up in the bottom of the 4th. Well, fans, subscribe to MLB.tv Premium today and get over 150 select spring training games with no blackouts, plus every regular season game live or on demand on your favorite devices. Visit Yankees.com for details. Jack Curry still with us, along with John Flaherty. I'm Ken Singleton. Yankees in the bottom of the fourth inning. They trail the Nationals by a score of 3-1. Gio Gonzalez still in the ball game. He faces Mark Teixeira. Pitches outside for ball one. Teixeira grounded out his first time. You know, Brian Cashman, Jack, that was unbelievable. But to me, he kind of laid out all the parameters of how this broke down.
It was stealth. It was stealth. He hid it from all of us. And you know what you asked about as a reporter? You want to chase this stuff down? I am going to say this. When Andy Pettitte was here a few weeks ago, I asked him that question. I said, being around your teammates, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, does it make you have that itch to want to come back? And Andy, who really was one of the more honest players I've ever covered, he did give an honest answer. He said, yes, you do think about it, but then you think about your family back home, and that's kind of why you retired. And that was a fair and candid answer, because according to Brian, they didn't know until this morning that this was going to happen.
Two pitch to Teixeira is low and inside, ball three. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Did we cover all the injury issues?
We did. You know, somebody we didn't mention, and somebody who wasn't on the graphic, Kenny, who comes into play because of Martin's situation, is Austin Romine. He has a back injury too, and really hasn't played at all this spring. As we see the walk here, the back locked up on him in a bunting drill early this spring training, and he's another guy that if anything had happened, the Yankees would like to get him some reps. So if you're Joe Girardi, you just want to see all of these injuries go away by April 6th. You want to know that your 25-man roster is ready to go against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, we saw Romine at the tail end of last year. I was very impressed, and anytime I hear Flash say a catcher's got it, and he was very you loved this guy, didn't you, Flash?
No, I did. And, you know, he had a chance to make this team in spring training. But, you know, talking to Girardi behind the cage today, he said, listen, we want this back thing to completely go away so he can go have a productive season down in AAA. And if there's a need for him, I mean, he already proved, like you mentioned, Kenny, he's ready to go at the major league level. We'll see if that opportunity arises.
Lee Mazzilli just to the right of Joe Girardi. Yankees trailing by a score of 3-1. There is a ball game going on. It's bottom of the fourth inning. Teixeira at first, nobody out. Andrew Jones fouls the pitch to the plate, and that got a piece of the catcher Flores, and he is down on his knees trying to recover here.
When I see him go down right there, I am not like Andy Pettitte. There is no thought of returning to major league action when you see something like this happen.
Well, you've been there before, it sounds like.
I'll tell you what. I think I'm a lot more comfortable up here with you guys.
Yeah. You're not wearing all your equipment today either, are you?
But you know what I took from Brian's conversation too, guys, is, you know, the excitement in the clubhouse to bring back Andy, and not only what he does on the field, but what he means to his teammates. It's going to be a huge addition.
You're absolutely right, John. I mean, for that guy to walk in, it's instant respect. He was well liked when he was a Yankee. He was well liked when he came back a few weeks ago as an instructor. And just imagine a young pitcher like Phil Hughes being able to use Pettitte as a resource, and all of the minor leaguers and guys who might be coming up at some point this season, they can go to Pettitte. He's pitched in big games, and you mentioned it in our open that you think postseason with Andy Pettitte, and that's what he's done. 19 wins in the postseason. See a strikeout there of Andrew Jones, but that's how he's made his mark. 240 career wins, but another 19 in the postseason.
Andy Pettitte. This is what we're talking about, folks. Postseason resume, 5-time world champion, 2001 American League Championship Series MVP, 19 wins in the postseason. That's the most all time. And 4-0 with a 3.52 ERA in the 2009 postseason. He won the clinching game of the ALDS, the ALCS, and in the World Series for the New York Yankees.
Kenny, the other night I was talking to Paul O'Neill, and he talked about Game 5 of the '96 World Series. And of course, in that game, Paul makes the great catch in right field that kind of helps save that 1-0 win. But he talked about what Andy Pettitte did in that game, and he said when you talk about Andy Pettitte's career, that one game and what that did for him and how good he was in the postseason, then O'Neill flipped it around and said, you know what, if I don't catch that ball and we don't win that World Series in '96, the duel, of course, between Pettitte and Smoltz, O'Neill said, my career is totally different. Everything changes because they don't win that game. They don't win that World Series. Who knows? Who knows what happens after that? I mean, Joe Torre, of course, wins in '98 again, '99, 2000. But it was interesting to hear O'Neill attach so much significance to that game that Pettitte pitched.
Well, wasn't it when the Yankees lost the first game of that series and George Steinbrenner was so upset he went to Joe Torre's? First we're going to look at Andy Pettit in 09. That's against the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. Chase Utley headed back to the bench. This is Jason Worth, who is now here with the Washington Nationals. Andy Pettit. Well, we're going to have more when we come back. We've got a pitching change here at Steinbrenner Field. The Yankees trailing the Washington Nationals by a score of 3-1. Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees trailing 3-1, but they have 2 men on with 1 out. Gio Gonzalez out of the ball game. 6 strikeouts for Gonzalez, but 3 base on balls, including 2 this inning. Gives way to Craig Stammen. And that's what he did last year with the Nationals. 7 games. 0.87 ERA. 12 strikeouts and 10 in the 3rd inning. That's impressive. He'll face Francisco Cervelli. The Yankees threatening here in the 4th inning. And the first pitch is low from Stammen. Ball 1. John Flaherty's with me today, along with Jack Curry. Jack broke the news earlier today, just before the ball game. I mean, we're about ready to do our open, right, Flash? We've had everything all lined up. We're all ready to go. And Jack walks over and just blows it up. Here comes Andy Pettit coming back to the Yankees, and we had to go from there.
No, it's not fair. I was supposed to talk about Phil Hughes, and the next thing you know, I had to redirect and think about Andy Pettit.
News knows no schedule. It's going to happen. You heard Brian. He didn't know until this morning that this was happening. So we all are professionals. We all reacted. We've all seen him. You've caught him. So there's your man. You get to talk about Phil Hughes in a minute.
All my research, I need to break it out.
Part of this job is learning how to tap dance. You know what I mean, Flash?
Yeah.
Count as a ball and a strike on Francisco Cervelli. Yankees have 2 men on, nobody out. I'll make that 1 out here in the 4th inning. Swing and a miss. Ball with 2 strikes.
No, I just watched Phil Hughes getting loose down there, and I'm sure the news of Andy Pettit signing, I mean, everybody's all excited about it, but the starting rotation, they make you think a little bit now. 7 guys for 5 spots, and obviously we don't know when Andy's going to come back and be ready to go. But a little more sense of urgency, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think Brian Cashman addressed that by saying, let's get to that point. Let's see where Andy is. Let's see when we can have him ready. He mentioned those 6 or 7 bullpen sessions that Andy has had. But then he also said, listen, he almost needs a full spring training. He's almost starting from 0. So maybe you look toward May or something like that. Is that when he could possibly be ready? But you're right, John. You look at the other pitchers in that rotation. outside of CC Sabathia, I think everybody else has to sort of wonder how this would impact them.
Yeah, well, you think spring training, what, 6 weeks for pitchers to get their arms where they need to be? And maybe he's a little ahead of that schedule because he's been throwing bullpens. Time will tell.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Stamen went to the fastball on successive pitches and strikes out Cervelli. So the Yankees have had a no contact inning going, and 2 strikeouts and 2 walks against the Nats pitchers. Stamen strikes out the first batter that he faces. And that'll bring up Bill Hall, who was struck out by Gio Gonzalez. By the way, Gonzalez allowed a run on 2 hits while he was in there. The 2 men on base are his responsibility, but he looked impressive with 6 strikeouts and 3 walks this afternoon. Breaking ball swung on and missed by Bill Hall, strike 1. If you're the Nationals, trip over here is not the trip you want to make. It's a long way to the other coast of Florida. That pitch is in there for a call strike. 0-2. Across I-4. The Nationals train in Vieira. Certain trips I didn't like making in spring training. I didn't like to go to Fort Myers. Oh, but we're going there.
We're going.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
Doesn't matter that we don't like going on that one. We're going.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Bill Hall is gone. We want to thank Jack Curry. Somebody get John Filippelli on the phone. Jack needs a raise. He worked hard today. Our Audi scoreboard tells us it's 3-1 Nationals going to the 5th inning. Of course, in the 5th in spring training, we're kind enough to, Joe Girardi is kind enough to join us. And Joe, I guess the big news today.
You're kind enough to have me.
Yeah, well, no, it's always a pleasure to have you with us, Joe. The big news, of course, today, Andy Pettitte. We want to get your thoughts about that. Of course, he needs a catcher, Joe.
Yeah, well, Flash is younger than I am.
I already said that's not happening.
No, I'm not going to recover very quickly, so we're not going to do that. But, yeah, we're all excited about it. I mean, it took some time to get done, and there was some back and forth, and, you know, he had to make up his mind that he was all in. But I think we can all see that he is, and we're going to have him back here pretty soon.
Now, I asked Brian Cashman this question about, do you think the fact that Andy came back as an instructor had something to do with him kind of thinking about this a little bit more?
Well, I think it can give you the itch when you're around the guys and you realize how much you miss that in the competition and watching guys go about their work. But he'd been throwing for a while, and he'd been working out as if he might play, and I think he had the itch from the initial conversation, but that might have been what put him over the edge.
Did he give you any indication he was thinking about this?
No, he did not, and I kind of found out later in the process, and came here. I don't know what morning it was. Maybe it was early Tuesday morning or early Wednesday morning. We had to get here pretty early to make sure no one saw us. I think there was one exterminator that walked by, and I was a little worried that it might get out, but it didn't.
You know, Joe, Brian Cashman was mentioning he's almost a little more concerned about Andy's legs getting in shape and being able to hold up. What would your concerns physically for Andy be?
Yeah, I think his arm is fine. I think if you look back at the issues that he had at the end of a couple of those years, it was lower back and it was growing, and I think that's pretty normal for a starter that has some age and that uses his legs a lot. And he uses his legs a lot when he pitches, so that's what we have to make sure is in shape.
Pitch is hit in the air to right field. Andrew Jones towards the corner. This ball is twisting foul and out of play. Now we got Phil Hughes. You saw CC Sabathia today. What did you think of CC? And of course, Hughes is having himself a pretty good spring, Joe.
Yeah, I thought CC just had a little trouble with his fastball today, the command. Thought he threw some good sliders and some good changeup. And CC has been a guy that has usually started somewhat slow in spring training. And, you know, he's one of those power guys that gets going as the spring goes on. Been pleased with the way Phil has thrown the ball. Has used all his pitches. He's even thrown changeups to right-handers, which we've been happy about. There's a good curveball.
Yes, it is. Good curveball. Bernier at short with a strong arm the first, and there's one up and one down here the fifth inning.
And, you know, I mean, that's where you can tell his arm strength, we feel, is pretty much back. You know, it's still a little bit early in spring training, but his curveball has more bite on it than what we saw last year. His fastball has been pretty consistent, 91 to 93, probably even touched 94 in spring training a little bit here, so we've been pleased.
Here is Steve Lombardozzi, who's had himself a pretty good day.
He's killing us. He killed us yesterday too.
Yeah, but Yankees won that game yesterday, 8-5. Lombardozzi has scored a couple runs, hit a home run and a single here today, and I didn't know he was a switch hitter.
Well, it seems that yeah, we saw that yesterday. It seems that we can get to 2 strikes on it. It's that third one that has given us a little trouble.
Ball's hit hard off the glove of Bernier, and this is going to be an infield single. And you're right, Joe. He's having a good day.
Yeah, yeah. I believe he's the son of Steve. That was, I believe, on the Twins championship team. So I'm sure his dad's pretty thrilled about this.
We're getting another look at the swing, Joe, and a nice inside-out approach, rifling it the other way, and a nice bid by Bernier, who has opened up your eyes a little bit this spring.
Yeah, he's had a really good swing. I think he's made a lot of progress with the bat. He's always had a very good glove and been very consistent out there. But he shortened his swing last year, had a decent year in AAA, and he's a guy that, you know, that you might have to call on at some point during the season.
So you'd be comfortable playing Bernier at any one of the infield positions?
Yeah, I would have no problem. You know, because he's got some experience to him. I think he's in his 30s, and he knows how to play the game.
Here's Mark DeRosa.
Now, is this Lombardozzi kid someone I'm going to have to worry about a long time? Is he young?
Let's see. We couldn't tell you that, but I think he only played AA. And
so yes, the question, yeah,
he's pretty young. And he can hit, Joe. He hit .309 in AA, moved up to AAA, and he kind of split the season at each place. And he hit a little better at AAA. Hit .310 at AAA, so he's a 300 type hitter. So this shouldn't surprise anybody. 23 years old, Joe.
Yeah, and he's a kid that maybe we see during the course of the season this year when we play the Nationals.
Yeah, that's true. They got a pretty good ball club over there. Davey Johnson's a solid manager. I was talking to Bill Mann today, Joe, and he says he might be a Hall of Fame type manager.
Well, I was talking to Maz about it. There's the first and third here. I was talking to Maz about it. And, I was saying he's won wherever he's went. Yeah. I mean, that's the bottom line between Davey Johnson. He's won wherever he's went and done a very good job.
First and third, one out, and bring up Wilson Ramos, the designated hitter. Joe, when you think about your own division, the American League East, just think of the managers in the division you have to go up against. There's some pretty strong candidates for manager of the year every year.
There's a lot of experience within our division. Guys have been around the game a long time. And, obviously the American League East is a very tough division and come down to the last day like it always does.
And now with the addition of Bobby Valentine in Boston, that's going to make it even more interesting, I feel.
I think you're right there. I think it'll make it somewhat interesting. It's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. We try and please everybody out there. So Phil Hughes trying to pitch out of a jam here. First and third with one out. We saw CC get himself a double play earlier. Ball is fouled off. Might have been a broken bat, maybe not.
Yeah, pretty good fastball right there from Hughes.
And Joe, what are you looking for? You know, that Phil Hughes has progressed through spring training. As you said, he's thrown the ball pretty well. But now, do you look for command issues? You look for speed issues? You look for radar gun?
Command is important to me. That you can throw the ball where you want to, and you can, go in and out. You can go up and down. You can change speeds. You can do all those things. And obviously, you're looking for one of two things here. You're either looking for a double play or a strikeout.
Now, as a former catcher, Joe, are you kind of calling the game as you're watching a pitcher work, how you might want to work it?
Yes, I am. But I don't get too involved, and I'm not a big fan of questioning pitch selection during a game, because I really believe it's a feel out there when you're catching. I don't know how Flash felt about it, but I mean, sometimes you know what the right pitch is, but you don't have a feeling that that pitcher might be able to execute that pitch because he's having a hard time during the course of the day. So I think it can be easy to call pitches over here because you're not involved in it.
So you're kind of hesitant to do that.
Yes.
Swing and a miss. Ramos has struck out, and that's a big strikeout because now there's 2 down. Runners on the corner. See if Phil Hughes can get himself out of this jam here in the 5th inning.
Well, Joe, you got to be happy with the pitch selection there. A couple of high fastballs, and then he finished them off with a curveball in the dirt. Yeah, I mean that's what pitchers will do a lot of times, because they feel like that high fastball and the curveball come out of the same plane, and the curveball obviously breaks down, and you can get guys to chase it. And they did the right thing. They changed speeds, they changed eye level, and they went in, I believe, on the 1 pitch. So he did a lot of things right there, and I am pleased.
Joe, if I could touch on Andy Pettitte, well, we got 2 outs now. What did it mean to you to be able to catch somebody like Andy Pettitte?
I had a blast. This is a guy that expected so much from himself every time he went out, and was very hard on himself. But you love the competitiveness in him. You love that he expected to do well, that he never made excuses, and he just worked and worked and worked. So I had a blast catching. He could say some funny things on the mound too, let me tell you, and in the dugout. But we're thrilled to have him back.
And that's great stuff. Swing and a miss, power fastball there. One thing I've noticed about Hughes this spring, Joe, the swing and a miss seems to be back in play with him. Well, that's big for him because he does pitch up and down in the zone with his fastball, and I feel that his fastball gets on people quickly. It appears that he throws sometimes harder than he does because he's somewhat of a short armer, and that's important for him. Late again, the pitch is fouled off by Flores.
Well, Joe, this is my first time seeing Hughes, and he's noticeably looks like he's in great shape. Yeah. You know how it goes, Flash. When you struggle, you're out of shape a lot of times, and when you do well, it doesn't matter what shape you're in. It doesn't matter if you're round or you're thin. And he took it upon himself this winter that he wanted to get back to the form that he was last year, and he's looked pretty good so far. Flores is put away on a high fastball. The swing and miss is back in vogue for Phil Hughes. Joe, we want to thank you for being with us. Thanks, guys. Trailing 3-1 as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. A true
Hey fans, stick around after the final out for the Mike Francesa. The man behind the mic takes your calls on the hottest topics from around the world of sports, including updates from the NCAA tournament. It's Mike Francesa today after the game right here on Yes. Here we go to the bottom of the fifth. The Yankees trying to break through against Craig Stammen, who came on and was impressive with one out and a couple men on. He picked up a couple of strikeouts to get the Nats out of trouble in the fourth. Or out of the scoreboard. The National 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors. The Yankees a run on 2 hits. And they have played errorless ball. Bernier fouls one back and out of play, and he's in the hole. No balls and 2 strikes. The Yankees 2 hits, by the way, the first 2 hitters they had in the ball game in the first inning. Granderson with a single and Cano with a double. Granderson is on deck. Pitch is low. It's a ball with 2 strikes.
You watch Stammen throw, and it's like he almost throws a little bit across his body, Kenny. And you know, the radar gun, we're so used to paying attention to it now with Phil Hughes. And this kid's throwing 89 miles an hour, but he throws across his body, and the ball jumps.
Breaking ball looped in the air towards center field. It's going to drop in there for a base hit.
Well, we just heard the manager of the New York Yankees, Joe Girardi, talking about Bernier and how he shortened his swing a little bit. And here with 2 strikes, he gets a curveball up in the zone, does not try to do too much, and stays right up the middle. But here's a good look at the delivery, stepping towards the third base dugout, really hiding the ball well. A little short arm delivery. You can see why he has been successful.
Usually left-handers do that.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a left-handed thing, but as Granderson steps in. Curtis has singled and scored and struck out. Takes a pitch in the dirt, and that is ball 1. Having a good spring. 333 with a homer. A couple runs batted in. About halfway through spring training. And players who don't have it as of yet, as Bernier's on the move, the pitch is fouled off. I mean, they've struggled in the early going. They got time to get it going. And those who have been hitting well or playing well or pitching well, they just want to keep it going. Yeah.
You know, I think about Curtis too, and that incredible season that he had last year, Kenny. He was probably one guy that said, listen, I don't want there to be an off season. I want to keep going. And you know, you have years where things go well. You want to come to spring training and have that same feel again right from the beginning of spring training, and it looks like he's doing it.
Outside for a ball, and it's 2-1. 41 home runs a year ago. Led the American League in runs batted in with 119. That'll put a smile on the hitting coach's face. You see Kevin Long. To his left was Alex Rodriguez, who could bat this inning. Throw over the first. Bernier is back. Curtis, 65 home runs in 2 years with the Yankees. Runners going. Pitch is on the way. Little number. Stammen has one play. He throws on the first. Granderson is out, but Bernier moves down to second. So Curtis now 1 for 3. And I'll bring up Robbie Cano. Doubled homer run in the first inning, then grounded to second. Now a 3-time All-Star. Flash, when you talk to, it's writers, scouts around the league, Cano's finished fairly high up in the MVP balloting the last few years. He might be able to go that extra step and actually win the award. This could be the year.
You think back to last year, kind of got off to a slow start and then really caught fire in the middle of the season. Just had a spectacular year. But you know, you're talking the total package, Kenny.
Yeah.
And defensively, what he does for this ball club. Now it looks like he's going to be hitting 3rd in the lineup.
You know, winning the home run hitting contest at the All-Star break with his dad pitching. Maybe his dad actually helped him catch on fire.
You know, and I got to give Robinson a little bit of credit. And I was talking, I think yesterday, to somebody about this. When he came up, I was still an active player on the Yankees, and you know, you saw all the ability, but you weren't quite sure which direction he was going to go. And now when you watch Robinson and his work ethic.
Ooh, a rocket snared by the second baseman Blanco. From his knees, he throws out Robinson Cano. That ball appeared to be ticketed to right field, but Blanco had other ideas.
A lot of things to like about this play. Robinson Cano has to feel good about the contact, hit it right on the nose, and Blanco going to his left, full extension, the throw from one knee. A lot of things to like about that play as Robinson Cano hits a bullet. Just a great defensive play. But getting back to the point, Kenny, how Robinson really has dedicated himself to this game and to be the best that he can be. A perennial all-star, and now we're talking possible MVP.
Here's Alex Rodriguez, runner on 3rd and 2 outs, and the first pitch is over the inside corner for a call strike. A-Rod struck out, grounded out, 0 for 2, hitting an even .300 this spring. Ball is hit well to left field. Going back is the left fielder Michaels. Looks up. This one is gone. A 2-run homer, and we've got a tie ball game. For Alex Rodriguez, his second home run of the spring, and that one was headed towards Lake Steinbrenner, out beyond the left field fence. So one swing of the bat ties it up. A-Rod with a long home run to left.
Well, Alex Rodriguez gets a little two-seamer down and in, and you love the full extension and the balance of that swing. Sometimes you can beat Alex inside if it's up above the belt there. The fastball down and in, drops the bat head, his second home run of the spring.
Here's Mark Teixeira, and he takes a pitch for a call strike. You know, if you look at the reaction of A-Rod when he hit the ball and Stamen after the contact was made, they both knew where it was going. One was very happy about it, the other not so happy. Breaking ball, and it misses to Teixeira. Curveball is low.
Another look at the pitch location, down and in, and here come the reactions.
That's a classic. It's happened many times before.
Well, if you're Alex Rodriguez, you bottle up that feeling right there, like you mentioned, Kenny, midway through spring training. Look forward to finishing up strong and getting off to a great start.
2-1 pitch to Teixeira, and that misses, ball 3. In fact, A-Rod goes into the season just one home run behind his former teammate Ken Griffey. A-Rod with 629 home runs, Griffey with 630. And the first home run A-Rod hits during the regular season will tie Griffey for 5th place on the all-time list. Teixeira draws a walk following the home run, and the inning continues. Second time Teixeira has reached base via the base on balls. Here's Andrew Jones. He's walked and struck out. Of course, the Yankees haven't been hitting all that many home runs this spring. And that's for the club that led Major League Baseball in home runs last year. I mean, that's been a staple of the Yankees. That's why they're called the Bronx Bombers. Andrew Jones takes one inside for a ball.
I kind of, talked to Kevin Long, the hitting instructor, about that today. Is he concerned at all? What's your feel for your ball club offensively? And he's like, this time of the spring, it's so tough because these guys are getting themselves ready. He looks forward to that last week of spring training where guys turn it up a notch.
Curveball hangs up high. 2 balls and no strikes. Here's where Andrew Jones, who has hit a few home runs in his day. 2-0. Here's where you get to pick and choose. And if he swings, he's not going to get cheated. Nowhere near the strike zone. 3 balls and no strikes. It appears that home run by Alex Rodriguez, Craig Stamen has not thrown many strikes since then. Well, the crowd's still buzzing somewhat after that home run by Alex Rodriguez. That's what they paid to see. Now we have another excellent crowd here at Steinbrenner Field. Pitch to Jones, swing and miss, strike 2, 3-2.
Andrew got a pretty good pitch to hit right there. 3-1 sinking fastball. Maybe tried just to do a little bit too much.
Payoff pitch. Bouncing ball towards short. Throw across the diamond is in time for the out, and that's going to do it. But the Yankees come up with 2 runs on 2 hits. The big one, this. A 2-run home run by Alex Rodriguez. At the end of 5, we're tied at 3. Phil Hughes still on the mound for the Yankees here in the top of the 6th inning, but the Yankees have made other changes. We'll catch up on them in just a second. First pitch from Hughes is popped up. That's by Jason Michaels, and the third baseman J.R. Murphy will make the catch for out number 1. Now at shortstop for the Yankees, taking on for Bernier is Jason Nix. At second is Corbin Joseph. And at first is Brandon Lair. So a whole new infield for the Yankees as we move to the top of the 6th inning. Here's Brett Carroll, who is singled and flied to right. He's 1 for 2, and he takes a pitch for a call strike. Non-roster invitee. Those guys fight an uphill battle when they come into camp. You really have to impress to make the team. And you're hoping you impress not only the team you're playing for, but maybe some other team that will sign you and bring you to the big leagues. I was fortunate enough never to be in that situation. The 0-2 pitch, and it's high from Phil Hughes, 1-2. I was impressed by Phil Hughes' ability to close out last inning with 2 strikeouts, swinging strikeouts. Curveballs in the dirt, knocked down by Cervelli.
It was interesting what Joe Girardi mentioned about the curveball being a little bit better this spring for Phil Hughes, and that arm speed maybe returning a little bit. His stuff is a little bit crisper. But I also think, Kenny, there's a sense of determination from Phil Hughes this spring. You know, there's nothing guaranteed. You have to come into camp and win a job.
Where was that? Flash, I know you'd be talking to the umpire after that pitch.
A little conversation with Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire. Fastball down and away.
Maybe a little low. Nice go, this one's hit in the air to center field. That is Justin Maxwell in center, taking over for Granderson. And he's got it for out number 2. All right, here's the defense. Bill Hall remains in left field. Justin Maxwell, you just saw him in center. Colin Curtis is in right field. Andrew Jones is out of the ballgame. And of course, we mentioned the infielders: Murphy, Nix, Joseph, Laird. Cervelli's still in the game. And Phil Hughes into his second inning of work on the mound. Here's Bryce Harper, who has struck out and grounded out. And that is a crackling curveball that drops in there for a called strike. This guy has a chance to make a major league ball club at 19 years old. I didn't sign till I was 19.
Well, the Yankees showing him a little bit of respect today. I mean, that was a first pitch curveball for a strike. You know, a lot of young hitters, a reputation that they're going to jump all over the fastball early in a count. Yankees throwing a lot of off-speed pitches early, getting ahead of Harper.
One thing I've been impressed with him, and this is the first game I've ever seen him play, the way he tracks the ball to home plate. When he swings, he rarely pulls off. His head is just concentrating on that strike zone. Ball is pulled foul. A lot of young hitters, they swing and they just want to, you know, hit the ball 9 miles, and that front shoulder flies out. But even that ball that CC Sabathia struck him out on in the second inning, he was kind of on that pitch. The pitch was just too much of a quality pitch. He couldn't hit it. Full count now. And it looks like he has an idea of what the strike zone is.
Yeah, we'll see. This pitch selection will be interesting to me because, you know, a young hitter will be hunting fastball here 3-2. We'll see what Hughes does.
Curveball hit on the ground and hit hard off the glove of Laird. And it's going to go into short right field, and I should say Harper has himself a single. His first hit of the afternoon. That's the second ball he has hit with authority today.
Yeah, this shows me a little something. A 3-2 curveball, and it's a pretty good pitch down. And Harper, who obviously was probably trying to find a fastball, gets a curveball and is able to drill it into right field for a base hit. See a lot of young hitters there, Kenny, kind of take that for strike 3, sitting on one pitch and getting a different one. Nice at bat.
Here's the number 9 hitter, Andres Blanco, who has struck out and flying to right. We're talking about him following the pitch through the strike zone. Head down. Contact is made. He has himself a base hit. I think this young man's going to be with the Nationals for a long, long time. Pitch is fouled straight back. They've made some good draft picks the last few years. Of course, Steven Strasburg a few years ago. Harper, both of them #1 overall picks. Strasburg has become so popular in Washington. They have at Nationals Park, you can get a Strasburger.
A hamburger named after him?
Get this. It's an 8-pound hamburger. It's a family hamburger. This ball's hit on the ground towards second. Joseph has it. So Flash, you can feed your family with one meal. One burger will feed all your kids.
If you want to take
Bottom of the 6th inning in a 3-3 ball game, and via the telephone, we are happy to bring in Andy Pettitte. He's talking to John and myself. And Andy, first of all, it's great news. We found out just before the game today, and that changed our whole outlook on the day. And welcome back, so to speak.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to come back and looking forward to the challenge of doing it.
Yankees a 3-3 game. Now, Andy, let me ask you this. I know you're a big family man. I'm sure you had to talk it over with your wife, Laura, and your kids. And did you get the blessing right away, or they said that you should think about this?
No, we just, whenever I spoke with Cash in December, I believe, is when he reached out, and we spoke for the first time, and just told me if I was interested, that they were definitely interested. And my wife was, whenever I thought about it, and just we started praying about it a little bit, she was like, hey, let's see if you can get the desire back, to work. And started working out, and started talking with Hal, and obviously they were trying to build a team, and I couldn't commit, so I mean, the family was behind it. They didn't want me to retire last year. That was my deal last year. I just felt like it was the right thing that I needed to do as the man of the household. So they're excited, and obviously fully are supporting me on this.
Andy, everybody said you look like you were in great shape when you put the Yankee uniform on, maybe as an instructor down here. But, tell us physically how you feel and how close you are to actually competing.
Well, I feel good, and I'm not real sure how close I am. I've been throwing. The difference for me is I've been working out since the end of December. The problem has been it's kind of been a little bit off and on. I've been throwing since January 1. The throwing I've been able to keep up with really good. So my arm's way ahead of my legs, I would say. My dad had open heart surgery, so was spending a lot of time, with him as he was going through that stuff. So I've been working out, but y'all know as well as I do, I wasn't able to train like I would normally train to come into a spring training. So my legs are way behind, and I think my arm is – my arm is good, but I'm going to have to take it slow. I believe I've thrown 6 or 7 bullpens, and, I came over Tuesday when I was in town with the family. I was speaking at a church in Orlando, and I came to the game on Saturday, and we wrapped in a little Disney trip with the family and Universal Studios, and somehow in between all that, I shot down Tuesday morning to Tampa and threw a bullpen.
Yeah.
So the guys could kind of see where I was at, and I wanted to do that so they could see that I had been throwing, and just to see me. I mean, I just wanted them to be able to see me throw. So, I need to go through the process of making those starts and building that stamina back up in my body.
Now, we heard that you did throw that bullpen at the crack of dawn, so nobody would find out about it. What was it like throwing at 7:30 in the morning? That's very rarely happened, I'm sure, in your career.
Well, it's been, let's put it this way, it's been a long 5 or 6 days. That was supposed to be a nice little vacation down there, but just a lot to think about and a lot to get through. And a lot to process, and I'm glad now that we just made a decision. And once I commit to something, I don't do anything quick or make rash judgments usually, and I feel really good about this.
Hey, Andy, how much of your teammates in there that you wanted to get back to committing with them? I mean, because obviously this has got to be 100% all or in, and good group of guys that really attracted you, wanted you to come back.
Great group of guys, and it was so hard being down there. Mariano knew about it because the first day that I walked into that clubhouse, he didn't know that I'd been talking to the Yankees, but he pinned me in the corner and was like, let's go. You've been off for a year with your family. Come back one more year here. And I didn't even tell him at first, but then the next day when he hit me up again, I told him what was going on. And so, I mentioned it to him and Derek and let them know what was going on. And it was so hard when everybody else would talk to me and ask me if I would consider coming back to just kind of keep it quiet, because I wanted it to stay quiet in case it didn't happen, and because I just wasn't real sure if it was going to happen or not.
Well, Andy, this means you're going to have to put away your golf clubs. You know that, don't you?
Well, man, I'll tell you what. That's how I think I really knew that I was really serious about this. I've been waking up in the morning and going straight to the gym and training. Wow. So I haven't played golf. I played golf 3 straight days when I was down there. The last time I was down in spring training, and that's the only time I played golf probably over the last 3 months.
Well, Andy, we just had a 1, 2, 3 inning. We're going to stay right with you here. Don't go anywhere. You mentioned your dad had open heart surgery. How's he doing?
He's doing good. He had a rough go at it, when we started, after the surgery. He had some little bit of complications, but seems to be getting all that stuff cleared up, and he seems to be doing a whole lot better over the last few weeks.
Well, you send Tom our best wishes, will you?
I will, man. Thank you.
Yeah, because he and I, we always seem to work out at the same time in the hotels on the road, and get up early and do it. And I enjoy talking to him.
Hey. No, he's great. He's a good man. I love him to death, and I wish he could feel good. I wish that he could get some of these health problems behind him and get that heart beating good and get those arteries cleared up so he could just have a good life, but he's been struggling for the last 14 years, ever since he had that first open heart surgery. He just has not felt good. So at least he's still here with us.
Well, we look forward to seeing him around the ballpark. But, Brian Cashman told an interesting story, Andy, about you listening to the Michael Kay show, which, first of all, I was a little disappointed you would listen to that show. But second of all, it turned into a conversation, huh?
What? I'm not sure of the Michael Kay show. Refresh me on the story.
Well, Brian was saying something that he heard Michael talking to maybe Brian Cashman about, the possibility of you coming back. This was a while ago, and Brian said he expressed, we'd love to have Andy back at any time. And when you heard that, you got excited.
Oh, yes, exactly right. You know what it was? It was actually, obviously we've had so much stuff. It was, someone was doing an interview with me now, and I can't even remember, and I had told them that they asked me if I would come back, and kind of jokingly I was like, well, nobody would want a tired old left-hander, after he's been out of the baseball for a year and going on 40 years old. And the reporter was like, I can't remember where I was at, but he was like, well, I just talked to Brian Cashman before I came to interview you, and he said that he thinks you could be as good as you ever were. And that was actually, but I hate to say it wasn't. I don't believe it was on the Michael Kay show, or I was listening to Michael Kay. So I hate to hurt Michael's feelings, but
oh, he's not here today.
I'm enjoying that part.
He's not here today.
We love hurting his feelings here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was doing an interview, and that's kind of. I was like, really, that's kind of where I started thinking, I kind of was like, wow, the Yankees think I could be as good as I was before, So, anyhow, I think, that kind of triggered me a little bit. But I was staying, I stayed in touch with Hal and Cash because I love the Yankees, and I followed them, and I was, text messaging them whenever, they were going to the playoffs last year when they won and stuff like that. So, just, we've got a good relationship, obviously.
How do you sense you are throwing the ball right now? You mentioned the bullpens you've been throwing.
I feel good. It really is. I feel like my command's pretty good. I was pretty surprised. But I've been throwing a lot. My kids are at that age, where, getting my boy ready for the varsity season, and they're 5 weeks or so into their season, so we started throwing together, my oldest boy Josh, and getting Jared ready. So I've been throwing, but I don't even really know what to tell you. Just I know when I came down to Florida, I threw that bullpen in the morning to them guys. it was just different. It took a lot more out of me. I could tell that my legs weren't quite under me like they were here at the house, you know. And I think I threw probably like 50 pitches or so like that in that bullpen with them. So, you know, I think I could probably be ready to go really quick, but I'm just going to have to be careful. I'm going to have to make sure I get my legs underneath me, and so we're not even putting a timetable on it just because you don't ever know what's going to happen. So I'm just hoping and praying that I stay healthy and everything it's a smooth process coming back, and we're going to take it slow.
Now, Andy, you know, the Yankee fans are well aware of what you've meant to the ball club over the years. A 240-game winner with in the Major League Baseball. And the fact is, what are your own expectations as you think about coming back?
I mean, I expect to be as good as I was. I really do. I mean, that's what I'm counting on, and I'll be disappointed if I'm not. I retired. I retired for one reason. I retired because I felt like that you know, I needed to be home with my family, and I just, that desire to be home with the family, I think, just took my desire to work and to pack up and leave and go to spring training last year. I mean, I think that was just such a strong desire for me at the time. It just didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter that they were going to pay me a lot of money. It didn't matter that I felt great. It didn't matter that my wife and kids wanted me to play last year. You know, I just, in my heart, I felt like as the man of the house that was the right thing to do, you know. And then, you know, looking at it from this year, it was, you know, obviously the money, especially, you know, once they signed a couple of other starters and they got their team put together, was completely different. And you know, the money wasn't there. You know, the big money or whatever wasn't going to be there. You know, me being retired for a year or whatever. So all these negatives, but in my heart, I felt like it was the right thing to do. Just like I did last year, I felt like it was the right thing to do to retire. So I'm just trying to follow my heart and my gut, and I've always done that, and I feel like it's always been right. So that's kind of, you know, my expectations are I think I can get back to where I was, and mentally more than anything, I think if I can get mentally back to where I was, that's going to be the biggest key for me.
Andy, we want to thank you for joining us. Andy Pettitte, for those of you who don't know, has signed a minor league contract with the Yankees. He's going to work himself into shape and hopefully be back in pinstripes very soon. Best to you and your family, and we'll see you soon, Andy. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Ken. Y'all take care, man.
All right, take care. Andy Pettitte, that's the news of the day. Signing with the New York Yankees, and of course it'll be some time before he's back in uniform in the Bronx or on the road with the Yankees. But it's got to be great news. One of the best pitchers in Yankee history is back in pinstripes, and it'll just be a matter of time. You know, if he shows any of the form that he used to have, I mean, that's going to be a big sign for the Yankees.
Well, good to hear, too, that his family's on board, because you know as well as I do, Kenny, when you go out to compete and get yourself ready for a major league season, you know, if you're not 100% positive that everybody at home is behind you, it's going to be even tougher struggle. And also interesting, his legs, you know, not as underneath him as much as he thought they would be when he threw that bullpen.
Well, you know, he knows what it takes to get ready.
Yeah.
New pitcher's left-hander Sean Burnett, and he's facing was it Jason Nix? Yeah, Jason Nix is at the plate for the Yankees. Nix took over at shortstop for Doug Bernier. Bernier had himself a good afternoon, 1 for 2 with a run score. Wow, I was just flabbergasted when I heard that news. You know, I saw Andy last year at Yogi Berra's golf tournament, and he looked in fantastic shape then, but he said he was enjoying himself at home, throwing batting practice to his kids, and watching his sons playing high school baseball, which is part of it. You know, we've each had families. You know, enjoy watching our kids play and compete in different situations. Career with the Yankees, Andy Pettitte, 396 starts, second all-time, wins 203, third all-time, innings fourth, strikeouts second. He's making his way back. Pitch is fouled off by Nix.
Well, Kenny, I think back to when I retired, and obviously not even in the same conversation as a type of player as Andy Pettitte is, but it was the mental part of the game that I wasn't ready to commit, you know, to being there every day mentally, and the grind that you have to go to, committing to your manager and your teammates that you're going to put the work in. And just listening to Andy and the excitement in his voice, he's ready to get back after it again.
Of course, Yankee fans will want to stay tuned as the season moves along, as Andy's progress moves along. As he moves closer and closer to getting on the mound at Yankee Stadium. Pitch fouled off by Nix. And the count remains 3 balls and 2 strikes. And we've got a 3-3 ball game going here. Bottom of the 7th inning. We've heard from Joe Girardi. We've heard just about from everybody today about Andy Pettit. Nix fouls another pitch off, including Andy himself. Great work by the guys in the truck to imagine Andy was back home in Texas. Yep, he was. Texas, and they went to the Rolodex. 3-2 pitch, and it's outside. Nix earned that walk. A leadoff walk in a 3-3 ball game here in the 7th inning. Justin Maxwell now in the leadoff spot. He took over for Curtis Granderson. Granderson was 1 for 3 with a run scored. On the Ford scoreboard, the Yankees have been out hit 9-4, but that's not the important column. It's the first one. It's a 3-3 game.
Well, the big 2-run home run from Alex Rodriguez. CC Sabathia a little shaky in the first and rebounded nicely, and Phil Hughes has looked fantastic.
Maxwell taking all the way, and that pitch is low for ball 1. $16 home runs a year ago, 48 games at AAA. Maxwell's got some power. In fact, at one time he played in the Nationals organization, played in the big leagues with the Nats. That misses. Ball 2, 2 balls and no strikes. I was talking to Justin before the game. Drafted by the Nationals in the 4th round. 3 major league seasons, all with Washington. And the Yankees got him back in February of 2011. Torn labrum the last year and missed the remainder of the season. Young man from Frederick, Maryland. Got some nice golf courses out there, Flash, if you like some hilly courses.
You say that's your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's not quite, but there's some hot smash, just fouled on the third base side. He's starting to get up into the mountains of western Maryland now. Beautiful country. You get a lot of side hill lies. 2 balls and a strike on Maxwell. Nix is on the move to throw to first and throw down to second. It's in time. They got him. So the Nationals had a feeling that he might be going. And a strong play all the way around.
Well, Nix had a good at bat. He worked himself a walk, and he goes first move against the lefty Burnett, and he does not guess right. And you see the throw a little bit low to Moore, and he delivers a high throw. Good tag.
Ball is hit hard on the backhand. Great stop at the third baseman. The throw is not in time. As Maxwell showing off his speed. Now, he's a guy about 6'5", and he gets down the line, has himself a base hit.
We showed the numbers from AAA. Plenty of power from Maxwell. Getting out of the box in good shape. Stretching it out down the line. Allowed himself an infield base hit.
There's a veteran Mark Tien at third. Now they're going to check on Maxwell over there. Martin with the Kansas City, Chicago White Sox for a while. Trying to make this Nationals ball club. That's in there for a strike. To Corbin Joseph.
Kenny, I think back to my younger days as a player when you're invited to big league camp.
It wasn't that long ago.
You get an opportunity late in games like this, you know, where you get maybe one at bat or one opportunity to make an impression. Tough way to open up a manager's eyes, you know, get an at bat late in the game or
make a play in the field.
Yeah.
Franklin, Tennessee for Corbin Joseph. Eastern League All-Star last year. Swing and a miss. Talk about throwing across your body. Burnett mentioned left-handers do it. He does it.
He's got pretty good stuff, but you know, the delivery, like Ken is talking about, you almost step towards the first base dugout, throw across your body. Perfectly located down and away.
But check on Maxwell again. J.R. Murphy is the hitter for the Yankees. Swing and a miss on a sinker. Strike one.
When you're a pitcher, you know, obviously you want to have big time stuff, but if you can add a little deception, which Burnett does by where he steps towards home plate, and the ability to hide the baseball just a little bit better.
Maxwell's on the move. Here's the throw to second, and he's in there with a stolen base. So the Yankees with a potential go-ahead run now in scoring position. Justin Maxwell showing off his speed a second time this inning. Picking up an infield hit, and now a stolen base.
And he gets a good read on Burnett and gets a great jump, peeking in, but a very late slide. Looked a little awkward, but it looks like he's okay. Didn't hurt himself, but a great jump and a great read off the left-handed pitcher.
You know what? He had a very short lead. I think he was going, but he just didn't draw attention to himself. Ball hit, line to second, and that's going to do it. Murphy robbed of a hit. And the Yankees do not score here in the 7th. On to the 8th. It's a tie game. Wilson Ramos grounds out on the first pitch of the top of the 8th inning. So 1 pitch and 1 out on our Ford scoreboard. It's 3-3. Here's that pitch.
Ramos' first pitch swinging, fastball out over the plate. A nice job by Hughes just to knock it down, take your time, and deliver a good throw.
Carlos Maldonado is the batter. The situation you were talking about, Flash, that get that one at bat. Maldonado, a catcher by trade. This is what he did last year at AAA. Jesus Flores started the game. His pitch is fouled back to the screen, and it's a ball and a strike. New catcher for the Yankees, Gustavo Molino. Molina takes over for Francisco Cervelli.
It reminds me, Kenny, early in my career, I was mentioning being a player invited to camp, and you get to go in a game late, and this will tell you how different the game is today than it was back when we were both playing. Good curveball right there. I go in the game, and you remember Ken Kaiser?
Oh, yeah.
Veteran umpire. I throw the ball down to second base, and Ken comes in front of me and starts cleaning off home plate. And he's like, "John, where'd you play last year?" You know, I was in Double-A, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really going to go well. This veteran umpire is treating me so nice. And he said, "Well, John, I don't know how they do it in Double-A, but here in the big leagues, we don't ever get dirt on my plate." Whoa. Wow. And I went from like so excited to get in this game to now I'm scared stiff behind home plate with Ken Kaiser behind me. And you wouldn't see that in today's game. These umpires are a lot different.
You mean as he was brushing off the plate, looking you in the eye?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know how they do it in Double-A, but we don't do that here on my home plate.
I thought Kaiser was a nice guy.
He was after I got to know him, but he enjoyed it. Intimidation was a big factor then.
Curveball is in for a call, strike 3. Phil Hughes, very impressive in his third inning of work this afternoon.
Yeah, he went to the slow curveball, a little bit bigger break, a little more off speed. Really impressed with Phil Hughes and his work this afternoon. The fastball's got a little bit of life, and the curveball's there. And you know, Ken Kaiser would not be happy right now with that home plate. And he would have let me know about it.
Here's Roger Bernardino. And he takes a pitch outside for ball 1. Bernardino's candidate for that leadoff spot. 91 games last year with the Washington Nationals. Little chopper. This one's going to go foul. Ball and a strike. I'll tell you who Kaiser did not get along with. He didn't get along with Eddie Moore.
Really?
Yeah. I think Kenny actually listens to our games too. So he and Eddie just had something going right from the very start. Eddie coming to the big leagues. Ground ball. Laird has it, steps on the bag. It's going to be easy 1, 2, 3 inning for Phil Hughes. Very impressive this afternoon for the Yankee right-hander. Well, it's time for the game summary presented by Lincoln. 3 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Nationals. 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Yankees. CC Sabathia, 3 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk and 2 strikeouts. Joe Girardi said he was struggling with his command, somewhat with his fastball. No issues for Phil Hughes this afternoon. 4 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. And A-Rod tied the game in the 5th inning with a long 2-run homer. But the big news of the day, Andy Pettitte signs a minor league deal with the Yankees and is working his way back into shape. Now, for the Nationals, bottom of the 8th inning, Tyler Clippard, an all-star a year ago, comes in to pitch. And the first pitch is in there for a call strike. Facing Brandon Laird. Clippard had a fantastic season a year ago. Struck out 104 batters in 88 in the 3rd innings. Pitch is fouled back, and it's 0-2. Former Yankee, drafted by the Yankees in the 9th round. Major league debut with the Yankees May 20th, 2007 against the Mets. Traded to the Nationals for Jonathan Albaladejo. That was in 2007. Made the All-Star team a year ago for the Nationals. His pitch is fouled off, and the count remains 0 balls and 2 strikes. Part of a very strong bullpen for the Nats.
Well, another young pitcher started out as a starting pitcher, then makes that transition to the bullpen, and obviously a huge year last year. A power fastball up in the zone, and again a little deceptive delivery.
Foul tip in and out of the glove of Maldonado. So Laird will stay up there. So Davey Johnson now back in the dugout. I would be smiling too if I had a very young team, a lot of promise, moving in the right direction. Ball is popped up, and this is going to make it to the seats and out of play.
Can you start thinking about the Nationals playing in the National League East? And, you know, if they can sneak their way into the playoffs, I mean, there is not a team in baseball that would want to face that rotation in a short series with Strasburg, Gonzalez.
Of course, when Davey Johnson was a player, he was a second baseman. I talked about the fact that he won 3 Gold Gloves. He started out with Baltimore. That's over the head of Laird. When Johnson got traded from Baltimore to the Atlanta Braves, the first year in Atlanta as a second baseman, he hit 43 home runs.
Wow.
Pitch is fouled back. In no other year had he hit more than 18. And he asked him, how did it happen? He says, they kept throwing me fastballs and I kept hitting them. 43 home runs his first year in the National League with the Atlanta Braves. That was back in 1973. He was second in the National League in homers that year. Pitch is hit on the ground to the left of the third baseman, Tien, who loves it, throws it, and there's one down here in the bottom of the 8th. Largest home run increase following a season of 300+ at-bats. Jose Bautista plus 41. This is in Major League history. Davey Johnson went from 5 to 43. And Ryan Howard went from 22 to 58. There were some pretty good hitters on that team in Atlanta. You can start with Hank Aaron. That pitch is in there for a strike to Colin Curtis.
Kenny, I want to know how you tell this story and all of a sudden that graphic shows up right there.
You know what? The preparation in the truck is unbelievable. And you go right to Mike Medvin. He's in charge of graphics.
Wow. He's the star of the game today.
You know what? We said that Jack Curry should go in for a raise. Mike should be right behind him.
There you go. Now, did you notice, you know, when I was traded from the American League team to the National League, San Diego, and I did notice a different philosophy of the pitchers, more aggressive with the fastball. I think that's kind of changed now.
The pitch is in there for call strike 3. Was that a fastball? 2 up and 2 down for the Yankees here in the 8th. Clippard picks up his first strikeout.
Not just the fastball down in the zone, it looked like. Mark Wegner, home plate umpire, makes the call.
Eric Chavez will come to the plate. This will be his first at bat. Takes over for Raul Ibanez, who is 0 for 3. I think Rico Carty might have been on that Braves team. Ball is hit hard, but right at the first baseman Moore. And the Yankees go 1, 2, 3 in the 8th. It's on to the 9th inning. We're tied at 3. Tanner Cesar Cabral, who is a candidate for a lefty spot out of the pen. Earlier, Jack Curry had a chance to talk to CC Sabathia outside of the Yankee clubhouse.
Thanks very much, Kenny. Now, CC, before I ask you about your game, sometimes the news off the field trumps what happens on the field. Andy Pettitte signing a minor league deal with the Yankees. What is your reaction?
Excited. Glad to have him back. He's a great teammate. A good friend of mine. So, I'm excited to see him and have him as a teammate again.
I have to ask you, he was here a couple of weeks ago. Any conversation about that? Did he say, hey, guys, this is something I'm considering? What do you think?
We went to dinner and we had a conversation about it. I kind of felt like he was leaning towards coming back. So I was just, excited that he made the decision to come back and join us and, try to help us win again.
You guys, the last time you were teammates, 2009, or the Yankees win a World Series, he is part of that, 2 lefties in the rotation. What do you think he can add once he gets healthy and gets to where he needs to be?
He'd be the same guy. He's got 240 wins in the big leagues. He's, tough. He leaves everything out there. So, I think he'll be, the same guy. Off the field, I think, he'll help the pitching staff tremendously, especially myself. I like just talking to him and having him around. So, I'm excited.
Now, you today, 3 innings, you give up 3 runs, 6 hits. I know you're trying to get yourself ready for the season. What's the balance between trying to get yourself ready and worrying about the statistics? I would imagine at this point you don't worry about that too much.
I don't. I'm just trying to get my fastball command down, which was off today. Changeup was cutting on me. So, I'll go back in the bullpen and work and, just try to get better, make sure my delivery's good and, my pitches are doing what they're supposed to.
And with 3 starts between now and opening day, are you confident that whatever you need to get ready, you have enough time to do it?
Yeah, I got, bullpens in between that time too. So, I'll keep working and I'll be ready.
Thanks very much, CC. Kenny, back to you. Andy Pettitte will be rejoining the Yankees. Last time he and CC were teammates was 2010.
Thank you very much, Jack. CC Sabathia discussing his afternoon and the return of Andy Pettitte. Good play by Gustavo Molina to throw out Brett Carroll. Almost reach first base.
A good darting slider down and in. Molina lets it get by, which is a mistake, but he rallies and a strong throw. Good stretch by Laird. It's like they got the benefit of the doubt on the call.
Here's Bryce Harper facing a left-hander once again and fakes a bunt, takes a pitch outside for a ball.
Now, Kenny, just what we would expect from CC Sabathia. No panic, just trying to get my game figured out. You see the numbers for Cabral last year, Double-A.
Outside for a ball. Well, he mentioned his fastball command. What does he mean when he says his changeup was cutting on him a little?
Well, usually his changeup has a little fall down and away from a right-handed batter, but I think his mechanics, we mentioned drifting a little bit towards third base, that'll make that changeup cut a little bit to the inside part of the plate. But, you know, nothing a good bullpen session can't get straightened out with Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach.
Swing and a miss.
The green light 3-0, Kenny. Young kid, 19 years old.
Well, they want to see if he can hit. Let's put it that way. At this level, Harper has had no experience at AAA ball. Cabral comes back with a curveball for call strike 2. 3-2. Changeup swung on and missed, strike 3. So Cabral fights his way back and strikes out Bryce Harper.
Yeah, behind in the count 3-0. He throws a fastball, a slider. This looks like another slider down and away. Best pitch of the whole sequence right there to strike out Harper.
Well, left-handers in the mix, maybe to help out Boone Logan. Cabral's one. Clay Rapata's another. Rapata maybe more experienced than Cabral. I think left-handers in Rapata's career have hit like 104 against him. And that's an impressive number.
Yeah, those two gentlemen right there obviously paying attention to Cabral and how he reacts. But you know what, Kenny, they all have the stuff. It's that trust when they come out of the pen, they're going to throw strikes.
Ground ball towards third. Murphy has it. Cross the diamond to Laird. And Cabral works a 1-2-3 top of the ninth with a couple of strikeouts. Bottom of the ninth, with this 3-3 game, the Yankees need a run to win it. Fans, tomorrow afternoon, the Yankees continue their warm-up for the 2012 season when they host the Houston Astros right here at Steinbrenner Field. Coverage on Yes starts at 1 o'clock when John and I are back for all the action. That's here from Tampa. Astros, Yankees, and it all starts tomorrow at 1, only on Yes. By the way, Hiroki Kuroda will be on the mound for the Yankees. You notice the green hat there? Right there, the Yankee hat. St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. John, we got to do something special. What do you think?
One of the greatest days of the year, Kenny. Everybody's Irish tomorrow.
That's what I mean. We have to do something special. We'll think of something.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yankees with a chance to figure it out here and win a ball game. Gustavo Molina takes a pitch outside. New pitcher in the ball game is Ryan Perry. And last year with the Detroit Tigers, 2-0, pretty high ERA. Now trying to latch on with these Nationals. Pitches swung on and missed. There's 2 balls and a strike to Molina. Outside for a ball. But now they do play extra innings in spring training in case of ties, but they usually only play 1 extra inning. Managers decide, and usually they feel their players have been out there long enough. After 10, swung on and missed, and the count is now full at 3-2.
A lot of times the conversation is the visiting team and how many pitchers they took on the road with them if they have an extra 1 or 2.
3-3, bottom of the 9th. Swung on and missed. Perry shows a good fastball and strikes out Gustavo Molina. 1 down. Perry looked like Gaylord Perry on that one. You never had the opportunity to face Gaylord Perry, did you?
No, never.
You ever watch him on TV? He was kind of tough. Pitch is in there for a called strike. It was Cole Gardner who took over in left field for Bill Hall. I'll tell you a story about Gaylord Perry. Hall of Fame pitcher, 300 game winner, pitched for various ball clubs. I played the All-Star game in '77 at Yankee Stadium, and my only at bat, I got hit with a pitch in the shin, and it hurt. Rick Russell hit me with a pitch on the Cubs. We start the second half of the season against the Texas Rangers, and Gaylord's pitching for the Texas Rangers. Now, he wasn't at the All-Star game. My first at bat, he throws a pitch right at my shin. He was watching the game.
Yeah, a little message.
Yeah.
I was watching.
Pitch is in there for a called strike, and I looked out in the mound. He just stared at me. I said, okay, we'll go from here.
Hope you had a little payback against them.
Pitch is swung on and missed. 2 strikeouts for Ryan Perry.
Perry's feeling pretty good about his fastball this afternoon. A couple of strikeouts, both with the fastball. Pretty much right down Broadway.
And that'll bring up Jason Nix for his second at bat. He walked his first time, but then was thrown out stealing. Checks the swing. No, he did not. Went around too far. According to Mark Wegman, the home plate umpire. And it's strike 1. Now, you know the Yankees have enough pitchers. It's just a matter of how many pitchers that the Nationals took over on the bus ride. The pitch is hit towards the shortstop. And the throw on the first is in time, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. We're going to the 10th. We're tied at 3 here at Steinbrenner Field. Top of the 10th, we're tied at 3, and Jack Curry's been all over the place today, and right now he's just outside, or a little earlier, he was just outside the Yankee clubhouse, and he had a chance to talk to Phil Hughes. Had a good afternoon.
Thanks very much, Kenny. And now, Phil, I have to start you off the way I started off CC Sabathia. Big news today with Andy Pettitte signing with the Yankees. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's great for everybody. You can never have too much pitching, and when I saw Andy, a week or so ago, you could tell he kind of had that fire, like he wanted to come back, and so everyone's really excited. You've talked about how you're competing for a spot in this rotation. Do you allow yourself to even start thinking about numbers, or do you just focus on what you need to do? Yeah, I think it's more just focus on what I need to do physically out there. The numbers are kind of correlate to how I'm doing physically and how I'm throwing the ball, and that's really all I worry myself with. And then last question, how do you think you did today? It was 4 scoreless innings. I know you might not have loved how you started out, but you had to love the way you finished. Yeah, sometimes it's good to get some runners on base. Have to work out of a little adversity, and it was good overall. I got a couple guys on base, and some base hits mixed in there, and had a chance to get out of those jams, and then the next few innings seemed to roll by pretty quick. So overall, I was pleased. That's Phil Hughes. Kenny, back to you.
Thanks once again, Jack. Phil Hughes. Afternoon, 4 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, and no walks. Very impressive. We're in the 10th inning in a 3-3 game. Mark T and the veterans up there, and he swings at the first pitch, fouls it off the end of the bat. In fact, it was so far off the end of the bat, he's going to need a new one. Chase Whitley is the new pitcher for the Yankees here in the 10th. He got Seth Bynum to ground out, so there's 1 out, nobody on. Tien didn't like that bat. He wants another one. Double-A Trenton last year, 19 games, 3-4. 37 strikeouts in 42 2/3 innings. I always look at those strikeout numbers. Those are the ones that tell you guys throw hard, difficult to hit. Bouncing ball to the right side and on through in the right field for a base hit. So Mark Tien has his first hit of the afternoon. He's on. 10th hit of the game for the Nationals.
Kenny, thinking back to Phil Hughes there with Jack Curry, sounds like a grizzled veteran, doesn't he? Sometimes it's good to get runners on base and work your way out of jams in spring training. And I'll tell you what, a lot of work out of the stretch today. Picked up those strikeouts you talked about. Larry Rothschild has to be very pleased.
First baseman Moore is at the plate. Tyler Moore. One on, 1 out. Upstairs from Chase Whitley. Tyler Moore. Didn't somebody have a show? I thought that was Mary Tyler Moore years ago. Yeah. There was something about Mary. That pitch is in there for a strike. You can tell we're in extra innings. Ball's hit high in the air to center field. Justin Maxwell struggles with the sun somewhat, but makes the catch for out number 2. And that'll bring up Chad Tracy. Look at little cotton balls in the sky. Well, it hasn't rained down here in a long, long time. I mean, the weather about every day has been just like today. Foul back and out of play by Tracy.
"40 games in Japan last year." Wow.
I think about the player who rebooted his career the most after going over to Japan. Might have been Cecil Field. Yep. Went over to Japan, had some good seasons, and came back to the major leagues and started hitting 50 home runs a year. Whatever he learned over there, it worked in this time zone too, in this country as well. On the ground to short. Nix has it. Long throw across the diamond is in time. And the Nationals leave a man on here in the top of the 10th. Yankees with another chance to have a walk-off win. The quest for 28 begins in Tampa when the Yankees kick off the 2012 season against the division rival Rays. Join the Yes Network for complete coverage of opening day pageantry from Tropicana Field. 2012 regular season starts Friday, April 6th at 2 p.m. right here on Yes. Right now, we're going to take a look at the play of the game brought to you by Delta.
Well, the play of the game happened the bottom of the 5th inning. Alex Rodriguez gets a sinking fastball down and in. It's a 2-run shot, his second home run of spring training. Your Delta play of the game.
All right, last chance. The Nationals bring in a left-hander. Atahualpa Severino now doing the pitching. Justin Maxwell has had a single his first time up. Takes a pitch high for a ball. Yankees have here's Atahualpa Severino. 6 games, 1-0. 4 2/3 innings in the big leagues last year. Single and a stolen base for Maxwell. That was in the 7th inning. Takes a pitch outside for a ball. If you're wondering how you get a first name Atahualpa, he was the last emperor in the Inca dynasty. And that's how he got the name.
Speechless, Kenny.
How could you be speechless? I looked it up.
I'm impressed. I mean, this guy's pitching in the 10th inning of a spring training game. And you did research on him.
Yeah. The last emperor before the Spanish took over Peru. And then everybody spoke Spanish from that point on. So Maxwell gets a leadoff walk from Severino.
Yankees in business right here. 4 pitches, base on balls. Maxwell on first base. We've seen earlier he can run a little bit. He has a stolen base in the game.
Sorry, Flash. Melky Mesa will now come to the plate. Joe Girardi going with the right-handed hitter. Let's see if he has Mesa trying to drop down a bunt here. Maxwell has good speed over at first base for a big man. In that regard, he kind of has Dave Winfield qualities. At 6'5", 6'6", Winfield could do everything. And that's why he's in the Hall of Fame. Let's see if Melky Mesa squares around the bunt. No. And he takes a pitch in there for a called strike. Now you look down at third base coach Robbie Thompson, see if the bunt is put on now.
Well, obviously a spring training game, you'd like to give guys opportunities to swing the bat, but you know what, a manager also might say, hey, I want to see if he can execute.
Tried to check, did he go around? Yes, says the first base umpire. That's Marty Foster. It's interesting in spring training, they give a listing of the umpires and what base they're going to be at, but during the course of the game they change, they move around. Only the home plate umpire remains stationary. Foster originally was listed at second. Maxwell easily back at first.
Seen a good live fastball from Severino. Melky Mesa got to turn it up a notch here.
I was actually hoping that Severino out of Hooper got in the game today, but I didn't want it to be in the 10th inning. Mesa in the hole, no balls and 2 strikes. 1 on, nobody out. In the dirt, good stop by Maldonado. Wild pitch would have been as good as a sacrifice bunt.
See if Maxwell gets a good read on Severino. He's seen his delivery a few times now. Mentioned he has a stolen base in the game already. See if he can get himself in the scoring position.
In the dirt once again, and maybe an even better stop by Maldonado. That ball got into the hitter a little bit. The count is 2-2. Catchers work on that quite often in spring training. I bet you that was one of your favorite drills, wasn't it, Flash?
I mean, it's, you know, it's the toughest thing is to take it from drills and the bullpen into a game, you know, game situations. Maldonado doing a nice job, back-to-back sliders.
Bouncing ball towards third and on by Tia. Maxwell's going to turn at second. He's headed for third. Mesa turns at first and heads back. But now the Yankees with a chance to win it. First and third with nobody out here at the bottom of the 10th. Tough in between hop for Tien, and he couldn't come up with it.
Yeah, it looked like Tien was in trouble right off of the bat. You mentioned it, Kenny, an in between hop from Melky Mesa. You see Maxwell at first base, but a little in between and just comes up a little bit early. And Maxwell with his speed is going to cruise into third base easily.
Have they scored that yet? They have not scored it as of yet, but meanwhile, Brandon Laird has a chance to win the ball game. First and third, nobody out. Laird grounded out his first time. The Nationals bring the infield in. First pitch is high and away for ball 1. Check that is J.R. Murphy at the plate. Murphy has a chance to win the ball game. Laird is on deck. Got ahead of myself. Pitch is popped up. Short left field. The outfield was in as well. Bernardino comes on, makes the catch. No advance by the base runners. And now there's one out. And that'll bring up Brandon Laird.
Severino does a nice job getting that fastball in on the hands of Murphy with the infield in and the outfield in. Like you mentioned, Kenny, you really want to get a ball out over the plate. See if you can get a little extension. This was a fastball, middle in on the hands. Severino gets a job done.
Here's Laird, who grounded out his first time up. Infield and outfield, both in. A long fly ball is going to win this ball game. Ball is fouled off. By the way, the ball that Melky Mesa hit the third to 10 has been scored an error. It's not on the scoreboard as of yet, though. That is E5. There we go. Middle infielders should drop back. They're playing double play depth. Ball is hit in the air. Right field. Right fielder has it. The throw to the plate is going to be a close play. Maxwell scores, and the Yankees win 4-3. So Brandon Laird does come through with the sacrifice fly. The Yankees eke out a win by scoring a run with the help of an error and a base and a walk here in the 10th inning. They score without the benefit of a hit against the Nationals here in the 10th, and have beat the Nationals for the second consecutive day. They beat them yesterday 8-5, and today it's 4-3.
Well, Laird does a good job staying inside the ball and fighting it off the other way. Maxwell, we mentioned, runs well at third base, but there's a play here at home. It's a good throw, and the fact that it has a lot of velocity, but it's up the line a little bit. And Maxwell will score easily for a game-winning sacrifice fly by Laird. The Yankees pull out another victory, 4-3.
So the Yankees react to the winning run scoring here at Steinbrenner Field. 4-3 win over the Nationals. Here's the totals for today's ball game as the Yankees win 4-3. Time of ball game 3 hours and 5 minutes. The final at 10. The Yankees doubled in the hit column, but they end up with one more run in the run column and win it 4-3. CC Sabathia a little off today by his own admission. 6 hits in 3 innings. Phil Hughes was outstanding. 3 strikeouts, no walks, no runs, 3 hits in 4 innings, and a big hit. Alex Rodriguez with a 2-run home run. And how about Andy Pettitte? Signs a minor league deal with the Yankees. That's the big news of the day, as the Yankees win this one 4-3. That'll do it from here at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. Special thanks to producer Frank DeGrace, director Michael Cooney, vice president of operations Ed Delaney, our supervising producer Woody Fryman, and the executive producer is Mr. John J. Filippelli. Join us again Saturday for Yankee baseball as Bombers take on the Houston Astros at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. right here on Yes. Once again, the final score, the Yankees 4, the Nationals 3. For John Flaherty, I'm Ken Singleton saying so long, everybody.